See it interacting with the ground, with houses, with trees. That creates the friction, and that gets those storms firing up for them here. Again, we've seen multiple during the overnight hours for us here, and we're not out of the woodwork yet. Here is the latest advisory coming in with, again, Tropical Storm Debby, looking at maximum winds at about 50 miles per hour. And this has been the problem. It's been a very slow moving system. We talked about this as we went through the early part of the week, saying that it was going to lose its steering flow, and we were going to be seeing it just continuing to pump that moisture in for us here in eastern North Carolina. Looks like we may have a new tornado warning potentially coming out now for us here in Jones County. So let's kind of reset and get ready for that. As again, we are watching a tornado warning for the Jones County area. That is going to be going for us here until 6 o'clock. So again, Jones County, heads up, we are now under the gun yet again for the third or fourth time so far during the overnight hours for us here. Let me get my computer reset and get over to where we need to be as far as the potential of the Jones County area with this tornado warning. And this was kind of the area that Lana was watching earlier, about a half hour or 45 minutes ago. You'll kind of see the elongation of this cell just north of Trenton there along Highway 41. This is the area that we do have this tornado warning in effect for. And again, this is going to be going until 6 o'clock as it continues to make its way off to the northwest at a fairly fast clip for us here. So we are also, is this a new one possibly coming out? Yes, for Greene County? All right, so we may have, again, multiple tornado warnings for us here coming out. It's going to be triggered here immediately as we are going to be seeing two areas. There is the new one there as it goes from Craven County through Pitt County in towards Greene County. So again, we now have multiple tornado warnings that are in effect for us here in eastern North Carolina as we continue to see the strong rotation in the atmosphere. Again, these cells have not had a whole lot of rotation with them as they're over the water, but as they come inland, they're able to slow down. They get the frictional effects, and we start tracking these, again, multiple tornado warnings. Both of these going until 6 o'clock. We do have the one that is located in parts of Jones County. That's going to head in towards eastern Lenoir County. That's the tone for the second one. That is going to be in Craven County through southern Pitt County in towards the Greene County area for us here. So we got two separate cells basically divided by about 20 or 30 miles that we are tracking simultaneously across the area for us here. Highway 70, Dover, Cove City area. This potentially could cross over right around the Lenoir County line. So make sure that you are aware as far as this system is concerned for us here. Now is the time to start to take shelter in the Dover, Cove City area as you are under that tornado warning, basically making its way up from Pollux through Sasser's Mill. Let's see if we can get a name of this road here that is going to be traveling kind of paralleling for us here. What's Wise Fork Road to the south of Highway 70. So if you live along that, this is potentially where this system could be working its way in your neighborhood for us here. Again, we've got multiple tornado warnings that we are tracking here. One in the northern part of Craven County that's going to be going into the western side of Pitt County. And then again, we've got this one kind of paralleling Highway 70 for us here in the northwestern part of Craven County, extending all the way up in towards Lenoir County. So again, we've got multiple tornado warnings that are running through 6 o'clock for us here. So make sure this does include even Kinston itself. So you are under a tornado warning generally along that Highway 70 corridor for us here as these cells are running anywhere between 30 to 40 miles per hour as they continue to track off to the northwest. And again, this is all the rotation around the Tropical Storm Debby. We called a bit of a break here for about 5 minutes, and now we've got more tornado warnings that were popping out for us here. I also want to not forget about this other cell here around Coxville, making its way over towards Ayden, Grifton, Shelmerdine. You're going to be in the crossroads for this as of right now. just stopping short of Walstenburg and Farmville. So that's the corridor we're talking about in Pitt County that we're going to be watching this cell in and around Jaspers, Tuscarora. So all these areas are under the tornado warning as we speak right now, with multiple tornadoes that we're tracking paralleling each other across eastern North Carolina. And in fact, we'll show you exactly where these storms are. You can see the velocity, as we call this. This is tracking inbound and outbound storms around the area for us here. And as a result, these storms potentially could have some damaging wind gusts with them. Again, we've been seeing some damage. Rebecca McGann there was live in Greene County from the cell that developed earlier this morning. Now we're kind of seeing some Dover, Cove City, just to the east of Vanceboro. Again, we've got two separate cells that we are tracking for us here. One kind of coming up there around Maple Cypress. Also tracking along 118, so Grifton, Coxville, just now this one to the southeast of Chicago is where it's going to be headed inbound towards Heightened. So these areas are under the gun for us here as we are continuing to track rotations in the atmosphere as they are quickly spinning up. And then the second one we're tracking here, again, simultaneously, right around Highway 41 south of Cove City, making its way off to the northwest. These are two were paralleling each other. Again, literally separated by about, let's see, well, I can see the measuring stick on here and actually show you just how far these storm systems with the two multiple tornadoes, about 15 miles apart. So again, we've got two separate tornadoes that we are tracking potentially in the northwestern part of Craven County. That's going to continue to make its way on into the area of Pitt County as well as Lenoir County. So the one on the south side here, this is paralleling Highway 70. In fact, if you know anybody traveling along Highway 70, give them a heads up, let them know, especially as you get close to where you go from 70 miles an hour down to 60 miles an hour there, entering Lenoir County, that there's potential of a tornado on the ground there right along Highway 70. So make sure that they are well aware of that and give them the heads up. Again, the other area that we are tracking is in the northwestern part of Craven County. That's going to be entering into Pitt County for us here. And again, both of these cells look fairly intense that we're tracking here. So if you know anybody along Stokes Town St. John Road, this is kind of the same area we were tracking at the cell initially, the one that went through Greenville where it started. Simultaneously, again, only separated by about 15 miles in the Highway 70 corridor for us here, as you're seeing kind of paralleling old U.S. Highway 70 in the Cove City, Dover area, as we are going to be continuing to track these two simultaneous systems working their way across the area. We talked about this, that we've got this tornado watch that is in effect all the way through until 1 o'clock. So again, we hate the overnight tornadoes here. Again, they are usually rain wrapped, hard to see, but now is the time to take cover as we are again tracking two simultaneous tornadoes in the Craven County area, Dover, Cove City area, and then also another one around Jaspers that's going to extend in towards the Heightened, Grifton, Pitt County area as we go on through the morning hours here. We've got multiple cells that we are tracking. Also, continue to keep our eye on the heavy downpouring rains. Don't want to forget about you in Jacksonville, especially Swansboro, Emerald Isle area, the heavy downpouring rain, and we will watch these cells as they get inland about 20 or 30 miles. We've been seeing the tendency for them to kind of whip up into the tornadoes, and that's why we do have two tornado warnings in effect for us here in eastern Carolina. Again, two simultaneous cells paralleling the Highway 70 corridor, Dover and Cove City area. This is going to be inbound towards Kinston. So keep in mind, we do have the potential for more tornadoes popping for us here as we go on through the morning hours here. It does look like we've got another one that is this one just coming out for the Spates Bridge area in northwestern Pitt County. It does look like that cell continues to be fairly active there, again, north of Snow Hill in the Greene County area. So this is about the fifth or sixth one I remember seeing for Greene County for the early morning hours here. That one in northwestern Greene County, that goes until 6:15 this morning, and that will cross over from the northern part of Greene County in towards the Stantonsburg area. So again, multiple tornado warnings. Now this is 3 active tornado warnings that we are tracking here in eastern North Carolina. Kinston, that's the biggest city under the gun right now. You've got some time with this one here as we are continuing to track this cell, making its way up from Dover and Cove City. But even that one is moving at a fairly fast clip for us here. Most of these cells are running anywhere between 25 to 40 miles per hour. So let's track that one in the Dover and Cove City area. And again, this is going to be making its way quickly off to the northwest, paralleling along Highway 70 for us here. So we're talking within, 15, 20 minutes tops of it getting into the Kinston area, especially from the southeast side. Institute, not out of the question that this potentially could continue if the rotation holds tight for us here. But these have had a tendency to kind of weaken for us here. But again, we've got 3 tornado warnings that we are tracking. Two of them starting in Craven County. We've got the one paralleling Highway 70 in the Dover Cove City area. The second one that we are tracking now, this is off to the northeast of it, making its way into the Pitt County area. Grifton, Coxville, making its way along Highway 11. Get ready, inbound in towards Heightened. This cell could potentially be coming your way here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you live in the city of Heightened, even Winterville now back under a tornado warning as this cell continues to move along. One thing you'll notice with these cells, and I want to kind of point this out here, that because of the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere are fairly strong, notice how the thunderstorm cell itself gets elongated. And the reason for that is because you've got very strong winds off the surface, up at around 20, 30,000 feet. So the thunderstorm develops, it goes up, it gets hit with those winds. Those winds are what are helping to get these tornadoes spinning up for us here. But they're also stretching out that thunderstorm cell as the heavier rain shield is out ahead of it. That's what you're seeing inbound in towards Heightened right now, is that rain shield of that thunderstorm that, again, does have a potential tornado with it there coming across Highway 118 between Grifton and Heightened. But it does look like Heightened, you are under the gun as far as this is concerned, potentially head inbound into you in less than 10 to 15 minutes for us here. Again, not to forget the other tornadoes that we've got going on here, especially the one coming up Highway 70 in towards Dover, Cove City, Kinston. Basically, this is going to be paralleling along Highway 70. So if you live along that Highway 70 corridor from Dover, Cove City, all the way into Kinston, even onto the west side of Kinston, this potentially could be an issue for us here over the next half hour to 45 minutes. And then we've got this other cell that we're watching here, under the gun, making its way in towards Saratoga, crossing along Highway 58, making its way in towards the Spates Bridge, yet again to the northwest of Snow Hill. So again, if you know anybody traveling Highway 258 or 58 especially, north of Snow Hill, that's where we've got another storm that is inbound for us here. What I want to do is I want to kind of pull the view out a little bit for us here and talk about the inbound and outbound velocities with the radar here. So it'll be a little bit easier to be able to depict where these cells are for us here in eastern Carolina. What we're looking at is the storm cells moving inbound and outbound, the storm motion moving inbound and outbound from the radar site. And that's where you see what we call the gate-to-gate shear. So here's that new cell that was just came out there just to the east of Castoria. Again, kind of paralleled by Highway 91 and 58. This is the same area that we did see tornado warning around 1:32 o'clock this morning, continuing to make its way northwestward at about 25 to 35 miles an hour. Now, the other area we are continuing to keep our eye on, this is going to be in and around the area of Craven County, as we continue to zoom this back out for us here, Dover, Cove City, paralleling Highway 70 along Wise Fork. Again, Kinston, we are under this tornado warning as well. So anywhere along that Highway 70 corridor, down through Southwood, Wise Fork, Dover, take cover now. Head to the interior part of a building, and this is where we're going to be for at least the next several hours as the storm systems are really starting to fire up for us here. Again, we've got two simultaneous tornadoes that we are tracking for us here, only about 10 to 15 miles apart. So it just shows you just how strong these cells and these rotation is in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. 3 simultaneous tornado warnings that we are tracking for us here in Eastern Carolina. Again, the biggest city now under the gun is Kinston. This is going to be coming up along the Highway 70 corridor, more than likely passing on the east side of Kinston if the rotation holds together long enough for us here. We've got Spates Bridge in the northwestern part of Pitt County. Northwestern part of Greene County. And then again, we've got this other one in southern Pitt County now, inbound in towards the Ayden and Grifton area, just to the east of Grifton, inbound in towards Ayden right now. So if you live in the city of Ayden, now is the time to find your safe place. We're talking about the interior part of the buildings as a result of these heavy downpouring rains working their way across the area for us here. Not to forget about the heavy downpours we're seeing in parts of Onslow County, Jones County. We're continuing to keep an eye on that just in case the cells that are moving onshore start to get some rotation. And that has been the characteristic with these cells. Once they get about 20 to 30 miles away from the coast, they do start to spin up for us here. Interior sections of a building. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible for us here, as a result of these multiple tornadoes that we are tracking here in eastern North Carolina. Again, the tornado watch is in effect all the way through until 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we are just getting into the middle of this here. We saw these multiple tornadoes across the deep south here the last couple days as a result of the moisture and the rotation associated with Debby, still considered a tropical storm, making its second landfall down in South Carolina, south of Myrtle Beach for us here. But again, it is the areas of Ayden inbound to you right now, moving into your neighborhood. Same thing in Kinston, which is why we are on with continued tornado coverage for us here. We've already seen some damages have gone through the morning hours for us here. And as a result, we are going to continue to see multiple tornadoes potentially across the area for us here in eastern North Carolina.
Yes, and I've been keeping a very close eye on the rotation that we've been seeing on the velocity map in all of these locations, and it looks pretty scattered out. However, there are multiple spots that we have been seeing those rotations, and of course they're going to be more moving in that northwest direction, much like all the other tornado warnings that we've been seeing moving through. So we're going to be keeping a very close eye on those right now as they are moving up. We aren't just wondering about, Tropical Storm Debby. We're also worried about the water spouts. There was some rotation that you could see over the water as well. And that's moving in the same direction as this one long band of rain starts making its way up into North Carolina and up into our coastal areas. Some of us have tropical storm warnings, more of those towards the coastline. But for us, it looks like we're going to be continuing with these tornado warnings here, and they're both around 6 a.m. is when they're going to go away. But at the moment, we are currently tracking that rotation that is going to be in these couplets.
We may have another one coming out for us here.
For
this
Greene
one,
County,
this
Lenore, and Pitt.
Yep. So again, we've got multiple tornadoes that we are tracking for us here in eastern Carolina. And as a result, though, that's a continuation of it. I'm sorry, that's a Greene County one. Multiple tornadoes that we are tracking here in the east.
Yes, and this is moving around 30 miles per hour. Now, we've had some moving around 50 to 40, but it looks like some of them have also gone down a little bit, but that still means that they could be dangerous. I know we had some damage in Greene County before. When we got into Edgecombe County, we did have a school that was kind of messed up there. A possible tornado has come through there, but we're looking into that as well. But again, we have a lot of rotation. It's going to be rotation in multiple different spots on that velocity map that we were seeing. It's kind of scattered out just a little bit, but still we are seeing multiple places where we do have that rotation. So if you're in any of those locations there that are outlined in those red boxes and those northwest of those boxes, you should be getting into that safe place as well, making those preparations because it could be coming your direction and also strengthening like it has been all morning.
Yeah, and again, we've got multiple tornadoes that we are tracking across the east for us here, so let's kind of break them down. First and foremost, the Highway 70 corridor through Dover, Cove City, Wise Fork, extending in towards Kinston. We are under this tornado warning. This goes until 6 o'clock, again, kind of paralleling along Highway 70. So anywhere from Dover over towards Kinston, and this could even get into the west side of Kinston as well. Not only are we seeing heavy downpouring rain, but this could be a rain-wrapped tornado, not out of the question with this here, as we are continuing to track this action working its way across the area. We've also got another tornado warned cell now working its way through Aden. This is going to pass south through across 903, making its way Frog Level, Ballard's Crossroads, Renston. These are the areas that we're talking about. Farmville, not in the warning. Not to say, though, that you're not at least going to see some heavy downpouring rains. And again, the circulation could hold tight and make its way into your neighborhood there. And again, the other area that we are continuing to watch here is in and around the Spates Bridge area, paralleling Highway 58 and between that and 91. So we've got multiple tornadoes, active tornado warnings as we speak for us here right now in the early morning hours. I know a lot of people think that, why had you get tornadoes at night? Well, keep in mind, you've got this tropical landfalling system, and as a result, that is what is helping to touch off these tornadoes, even though it's several hundred miles away from us here. This cell here in the Spates Bridge looks fairly tight and concise as it's about ready to cross over Sandpit Road. This is the second time tonight I've said the name of that road. In towards the Edgecombe County area. So again, these things are moving relatively quickly for us here. We're also watching the other area is down paralleling Highway 70 in the Dover Cove City area, starting to see some rotation show up in and around the Kinston area. So again, we've got very fast moving systems, multiple tornado warnings for us here as these cells are quickly starting to spin up. There's a lot of shear in the atmosphere. That's winds coming from different direction at different speeds because of this tropical falling system. And as a result of that, it's why we do have multiple tornadoes that we are tracking. There's the one in around Aden Grifton or over Highway 11 right now, making its way across just to the north of 102. So again, we do have multiple tornado warnings that we are tracking here in Eastern Carolina, and as a result, keeping an eye on multiple locations across the area for us here. So that's why we're kind of jumping around a little bit here. Not to forget, though, that we are still under this tornado watch. That runs until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Not to forget, we're still tracking bands of heavy rainfall making their way in Emerald Isle, back in towards Swansboro. And what we've seen the tendency of these bands to set up, not only do they have the heavy downpouring rain with them, but once they get about 20 or 30 miles away from the coast, then the energy starts to act on it with the friction of the land, and that's when we start to pop these tornadoes. So again, not completely out of the question. Areas of Craven County, yet again, could be seeing another tornado warning potentially as we go on through the morning hours here as this whole band shifts inland.
Yeah, so we've kind of seen a pattern here from New Bern all the way up to Greenville. That's kind of where you've been seeing those bands of rain. You can see it right there moving up that 258 corridor and up to 17. That's where we've been seeing these pop off all morning. We do have that heavy rain and moving through, and it's also, we have a lot of moisture in the air as well as warmth. It's fairly warm out there, which is also fueling some of these storms that we've been seeing. But I've been focusing here on some of the rotation on the other screen, and we do have a couple of locations that have had these rotations. However, it looks like they're kind of dissipating a little bit, but they could strengthen once more. So we have about 3 different ones that we're focusing on that's going to be going into the 6 o'clock hour, and the sun is also starting to come up a little bit. We've seen those tornadic activities kind of start there in the dark where we've been seeing, but for now it looks like you can see here at the Bogue Inlet Pier that rain is moving pretty fast there. We did see some water coming up. You can see it right there underneath the pier. This is one of those locations that are seeing that heavy rain there. You can see the winds too, that flag moving pretty quickly. I saw some rotation just off the coast of the Bogue Inlet Pier. It looks like it has gone away though, but still with these storms moving through off the water, they're strengthening even more, and we could be seeing more of the shot lightning just then. we're going to be seeing more of these storms moving through and possibly some more tornado warnings as we're heading through the day. But it looks like we're kind of getting into the day part of things, and we're going to be seeing that sun come out again. So we'll have a better, clearer picture of what we're looking at.
Yeah, again, we've been watching these heavy bands, and that's why I pulled up the Bogue Inlet Pier Cam for us here this morning. These heavy bands offshore, again, not experiencing a whole lot of friction. There's nothing out there to block it and get these storms rotating for the most part. So far, they've been well behaved this morning offshore. But as they get further inland and the atmosphere starts to slow down in the low levels, but still with these stronger winds up around 10, 20,000 feet, that's getting these storms to start to rotate, and that's why we do have multiple tornado warnings that we are tracking across the area for us here. Again, Dover, Cove City along the Highway 70 corridor inbound in towards Kinston. We are watching that rotation making its way through the area for us here. We've also got another one now exiting through Aden. Ballard's Crossroads, get ready. It's going to pass just south on Highway 11 in Winterville for us here this morning. And again, the other area that we are continuing to keep our eye on is in the Bates Bridge area of Greene County, as this is going to be crossing over towards Highway 222 in the Edgecombe County area here. But again, multiple tornadoes that we are tracking across the area. That's why we're kind of jumping around here. This cell there, especially Bates Bridge, that one looks kind of intense there right along Sandpit Road inbound in towards Stantonsburg itself. And then again, we are continuing to track further off to the south here and around Kinston, starting to see some of that rotation making its way potentially into the city for us here. So if you know of anybody in downtown Kinston, give them a heads up and make sure that they're awake and know that there's potentially a tornado inbound towards them as well. And then the other area we're continuing to watch here, which again, this cell has looked fairly decent for us here. Just to the north of Aden, passing between Aden and Winterville right now along Highway 11. Renston, get ready. This is inbound towards you, as well as Ballard's Crossroads here as we continue to track this moving very fast, anywhere between 25 to 40 miles an hour off to the northwest.
Yes, and we've been seeing these covered in these heavy rain bands. We could see possible rain wrap tornadoes as well, and that also obscures your ability to be able to see these. And they're moving over some of these highways that people are riding on going to work and stuff like that. And so if you are on those roads, make sure you may pull off or get to a safe place. If you are in those tornado warnings, it is not safe to be under underpasses or bridges. So it's good to make sure you have that space. And it's also moving up towards Raleigh. It looks like we've kind of been back and forth between us and Raleigh going through these tornado warnings. We have, I think, 3 right there, kind of all in that same area. And if you were here early this morning, we had these in the same locations over and over. And if you look down there near Atlantic Beach, you can kind of see where that band is on the water. And it's really been raining real hard, and I've been focusing on the rotation down there, and I've noticed where it's coming in a little bit, but we have had the heavy rain and wind as well, and that could bring in all that moisture and heat that we've been seeing fueling these storms.
Yeah, and again, we do have a corridor in the atmosphere that is basically set up for us here this morning. We've been watching these heavy bands set up throughout the morning hours here. Again, this is what the radar looks like, as we just saw live there at the Bogue Inlet Pier. There are some flashes of lightning with that associated with it, but the tendency that we've seen here is once you get about 20 to 30 miles away from the coast, these bands start to slow down in the low levels, and that's what creates the shear in the atmosphere. You've got stronger winds in the upper levels, now slowing down winds in the lower levels. That creates that spin, and that's why I have seen these multiple tornadoes for us here so far this morning as we've gone through the morning hours here. Again, just about the 6 o'clock hour for us here, we've got multiple tornado warnings that we are tracking here in eastern Carolina. We've got 1 or 2 of them supposed to expire at 6 o'clock, right?
I think the one in Greene County is going to expire around 6. And then so is the same one that we've been seeing there in Craven and Jones.
So it is just about the 6 o'clock for us here in eastern Carolina. You are watching News 12 this morning, and we are continuing to watch the potential of severe weather here in eastern Carolina. You're watching News 12 this morning as we have multiple tornado warnings for us here. Now, it looks like the other ones have dropped across the area, and we do now have just one that we are continuing to track here. That is in the northwest part of Greene County, north of Snow Hill in the Spates Bridge area. This one is continuing until 6:15, although it looks like a lot of the circulation is moving off to the north and the east.
Yes, and this area specifically is one that we've been kind of seeing multiple tornado warnings start in there. And that's kind of where we've also been seeing the damage there. And look, there's another one there until 6:30. It just popped off in that same part there west of Greenville. And we're going to take a look here
Do some safety tips
at the velocity. And you can kind of see here's a little bit of that rotation right there. And there goes off the alarm once more. But you can see right there is that rotation that has caused that one to go off in that area right there. So that's another one that we're going to be watching. But you can see there's two of them at the time, one until 6:15, one until 6:30. And these are those couplets that we've been watching for the past couple of hours that have been moving through all the way into Raleigh. And of course, they're bringing in that heavy, heavy rain and warmth as well, which is causing all those couplets to start rotating because you have that colder air up top, warmer air at the bottom, as well as faster air moving with the winds up top, as well as slower winds now that it's coming on land. And that's also causing that shear that's helping those tornadic activities start to come up.
Yeah, so we were talking about the tornado warnings across the area here. I think we've got a graphic to show where some of the potential for safety locations are going to be for us here. If you do have a tornado warning, that again, we've seen multiple extending for us here in Eastern Carolina so far this morning. Brian?
All right, here it is. If you are in one of those tornado warning areas, like here in Greene County, where we do know there was some damage earlier this morning, where a tree you see to the right of your screen, that was what cattywampus, and there was a building that looks like it was crushed by something, and power lines down. We've seen crews out there working this morning. We have Rebecca McGann, who is in Greene County, where there's still that active tornado warning. Let's check in with her real quick to get a ground truth report about what's happening just west of Snow Hill. Rebecca?
Yeah, Brian, I'm currently hanging out in my car right now because that rain is so torrential and we have those warnings close by, but we still have power crews out here working on getting these power lines back up and restored. They've been out here the whole time. We've been out here since about 4:45 this morning. That rain has really just been coming down in bands, and it's really been causing a lot of flash flooding on the roads as well. I'm going to try to flip my camera around so you can see a little bit of what I'm talking about. If you look down here, you can see a lot of puddling over in the ditch area. You can see these power crews working over here trying to get that line restored. Sorry, I got my wipers going so you can see a little bit, but we have that down line right there. Definitely some trees, it looks like, that pulled down those power lines. I know further behind me we had that damaged structure, and I'm hoping that once we get a little bit more light as the sunshine, maybe not sunshine, but as the day gets a little bit closer, we'll be able to get a better picture of the damage that's here in Greene County. I'm on Highway 58 right now, right by Fort Run Road, so we're not actively in one of the warning zones, but we are pretty close by, so we're keeping an eye on everything. But for now, trying to stay safe in the rain and with all of these multiple tornadoes. But we will make sure to keep you updated as we find out more, as we get some more of that daylight in, and definitely try to get you a better picture of the amount of damage that we've been seeing from these tornado warnings. But for now, live in Greene County, Rebecca McGann for News 12.
We're also tracking some power outages this morning with customers. It says customers tracked about 5 million out.
We have 5 million tracked, and customers out are around, you can see that 30,000.
So Duplin County is the place with the worst amount of outages right now, with a little over 700 customers there without power. Wayne County is having some issues as well. Jones County, they are having some issues as well, as we click around and check some of the numbers. So a lot of people joining us on Facebook or on our website, WCTI12.com, where they can stream. But power outage is going to be a big story with this as we continue to watch the damaging winds. Let's check out what happened also earlier in Wilson County. This is Springfield Middle School in Wilson County. This is in Lucama, southwest of Wilson, north of Kenly, near I-95. But this was damaged around 1-2 this morning when what appears to be a tornado went through and damaged this middle school, Springfield Middle School. We're told that 10 homes also had serious damage as well. We're told no one was injured, though. That's the good news as of right now out of Lucama. No injuries from this storm damage that happened in Wilson County. And we're going to continue to track all of this for you. We are actively watching a couple of tornado warnings that are happening right now. Let's get back to Lana Foss and Les Steele. Finally got a drink of water, but it's been that kind of morning. We were just playing whack-a-mole with these warnings and hoping none of these things touch down or cause any damage like we saw in Lucama earlier this morning. Les?
Yeah, and that's the key with these systems. Again, they were watching these bands coming in across the coastal areas, and once they get inland, the lower level starts to slow down because of friction from the ground here, and this is why we do have the tornado warnings that are in effect for us here, especially the northwestern part of Pitt County, now moving to the north of Heightened, continuing to track this, moving off to the northwest at a fairly fast clip for us here. And again, you'll notice this is the area that we are talking about as we go and look at the velocity. Again, we're looking at the winds inbound to the radar and outbound from the radar. And because of that spinning, we get to see where these potential tornadoes are. And this is the area we're looking at right here, just around Beaver Creek Road as we speak right now. This will cross over 264, 587 area where it is now officially an interstate. And we will continue to track this, moving very fast to the northwest at about anywhere 25 to 40 miles per hour for us here. And it's kind of in the same area time after time after time that has been seeing repeated rounds of the storminess here. Again, kind of take you back. These bands come from offshore, feeding right across Craven County, Jones County. And as the air starts to slow down, as it gets into, say, Greene County and Pitt County, this is where we're starting to see these tornadoes pop for us here. Tornado watch remains in effect for us all the way through until 1 o'clock this afternoon. So all of Eastern Carolina is included in this tornado warning, tornado watch, and we've got multiple tornado warnings for us here as we speak right now. Keeping our eye, especially here at two areas kind of paralleling each other. We've been watching within about 10 to 15 miles of these storms have been tracking for us here. And again, we are continuing to watch these cells upstream for us here as we're starting to see some of the intense rainfall. This was passing just to the north of Farmville as we speak right now, looking at Spates Bridge yet again. Another tornado for us here to the northwest of Snow Hill, paralleling Highway 58 and 91 as we continue to see this rotation showing up here. This is about the fourth or fifth time now we have talked about this area here with the potential tornado. And again, this is the area that we're talking about here just to the southwest of Castoria, where we are going to be traveling along Highway 91, Shepherd's Ferry Road area. Also looking at the potential of some of those heavier downpouring rains onto Vant Farm Road as a result of this tornado potentially paralleling along Fire Tower Road. Again, in the very far northwestern part of Pitt County, banded by Highway 91 and 58 off towards the east here. So now is the time to head to your safe space. If you've got a chance to head to the lowest part of the building, which again, we don't normally have a whole lot of basements for us here in eastern North Carolina. So the safest place you can be here now in this area where, again, we are tracking that potential tornado is in the interior part of a building, away from windows, away from glass. Just kind of remember, though, in your mind what is up in the attic up there. And I know a lot around here, sometimes they'll put the air handler up in the attic spaces here. You don't want to get directly under that. But again, you'd rather be in an interior hallway or a bedroom or bathroom as opposed to potentially being shattered by glass that could be exploding around you.
And one of the things that we're tracking along with these tornado warnings is the tropical storm watches that we've been seeing in our area have been upgraded to all warnings. And this includes coastal Onslow and Carteret County. It's an expansion, though, of that watch area. So not only do we have these tornado warnings moving through more towards our northwest part of the viewing area, but we also have those tropical storm warnings off towards the coast. And that also starts that rotation as well. And it starts getting stronger as it's heading. And we showed the camera a couple of times there near the Bogue Inlet Pier. And we were seeing a whole lot of rain as well as pretty high waves and flooding issues. And that's something that we're tracking as well. You can see right there between New Bern, Trenton, moving all the way up into Kinston and Greenville. You can see that's that band of rain that we're seeing right now, kind of bringing in all of those tornado warnings, and they're pretty much happening right there, right above the northwestern part of New Bern. But this whole storm itself, it's still fueling some of those bands, and we're kind of sitting in that right front quadrant of Tropical Storm Debby, which tends to bring all of this severe weather, especially with those tornadoes and a lot of wind damage in some of these locations. Of course, we have multiple rain bands that we're focusing on, and they could be coming through into today and tomorrow. So it doesn't look like we're going to be getting a break anytime soon from like yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say, now we're starting to see the energy in the atmosphere starting to unwind from around this system, and as a result, you can still see that circulation. I often stress to everybody, don't get fascinated where the exact center of the storm is being tracked to. It's that sphere of influence, and that's exactly what we are seeing here right now, that sphere of influence. You can see that streamer fire hose jet coming right across Onslow County, Jones County, and making its way in towards the Pitt County area. And that is the reason why that we are seeing these tornadoes popping up for us here as we continue to track this for us here. Let me take the watch graphic off and you'll be able to see it a little bit better for us here. Again, we are continuing to watch two separate tornadoes paralleling each other here in Pitt County. One traveling along Spates Bridge, and we've seen multiple cells go through this area time after time. Now again, another cell working its way in towards the Farmville area, and this is going to continue to be there around Fountain, just to the northwest of Fountain, as we see Highway 258 winding through that area there. So again, we've got several more hours left as far as the potential for severe weather for us here in eastern North Carolina as a result of these bands of rain that we are tracking in across the area for us here. It is now 6:12. When we got our next expiration time with these tornadoes, I believe 6:30
for the one in Pitt County. Looks like the one in Greene County has been canceled, but of course it looks like it's still moving in that northwest direction there.
Yep, exactly. So you can see there again the one that we're showing there to the northwest of Snow Hill, paralleling Highway 58. That's the area that we are tracking right now. Also, we've got this simultaneous cell as well further off towards the east across the area for us here that we are continuing to track here early this morning. And again, we're nowhere near the end of this for us here in eastern North Carolina. There's look like the one cell we're tracking there and around the Frog Level, potentially going to cut across Highway 258, 64, 587 in that neighborhood for us here. And then we'll continue to track this other cell, again, looking a little bit stronger here south of Castoria. This is about the second or third time we've seen this along Fire Tower Road. This again is tracking off to the north and the east, anywhere between about 25 to 40 miles per hour for us here as we go on through time. So it's this northwestern section of Pitt County now and towards Greene County that is under the gun. We've seen multiple tornado warnings come out of this area here over the last 5 or 6 hours. And again, you can kind of see there's an updated velocity scan of the radar now getting off to the northwest of Spates Bridge. And it looks like this is once again going to cross in to Edgecombe County and around the Stantonsburg area. So that will be handed off to the National Weather Service in Raleigh as you've got overlapping areas here between Pitt County, that is under the National Weather Service in Morehead City. They issue the warnings and watches for that. And then once it crosses into Edgecombe County, that is technically under the National Weather Service in Raleigh.
Yeah, and that Spates Bridge there has been hit multiple times today. It seems kind of that's where we see most of that rotation happen. So that's probably where we're going to be keeping another very close eye on its rotation. Right now, this does not mean that a tornado is on the ground. It does mean that we have that rotation in the clouds that you can see as the sun starts coming up. That does mean there could be a possible touchdown, so make sure you get in any of your safe spaces that we mentioned earlier. But we're kind of focusing on multiple places that we see some minimal rotation. I was looking at this velocity map earlier, and along that band of rain that we see going all the way from New Bern all the way up to Greenville, it has a little bit of rotation in multiple different spots, not enough to create a warning yet, but again, this storm is pretty powerful moving in from Tropical Storm Debby. Again, we are in that right front quadrant. As you can see here, we do have that rotation still, but we're going to show a map here that has the whole storm in it, so you can kind of see what I mean when we have that band there. You can see as it's coming off the water near Atlantic Beach, it starts getting stronger and stronger as it heads inland, and that's where that eye is right there. You can kind of see it's a bit long there, and it's moving into South Carolina, but we don't really need to focus on that as much. You look and see the bands there, they're going all across North Carolina there. It has a whole arc, but mainly we're seeing all this heavy rain and winds and rotation, as well as that powerful moisture that's coming off the ocean that could be fueling these storms. But we're going to take a look here at the Bogue Inlet Pier. It looks like the camera almost looks like it's shaking a little bit, as well as heavy rain. We were seeing some lightning here, and at this location specifically, I was seeing some very low rotation off the coast. So that can mean water spouts as well, and water spouts are very dangerous. They could also become a tornado as they hit on land. So if you are on the coast, it's good to kind of get in your safe space now and just stay safe and don't get on the beaches or in the waters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely not a good beach day for us here. Not only we're seeing the rough surf out there, obviously red flags are flying, but again, we are watching these bands, and we've been watching this setup, and it's just this alley that has been created in the atmosphere around the system itself. Multiple rounds of heavy rainfall here into Emerald Isle. We see these cells moving on shore. They get inland about 20, 30, even 50 miles inland, and that's when the friction of the trees, of houses, starts to slow down the lower part of the atmosphere while the winds are whipping anywhere between 75 to 150 miles an hour as you get up higher into the atmosphere. And as a result, you start to spin up these quick spinning tornadoes. So again, at least right now, coastal areas, you're getting the heavy downpour and rains causing some poor drainage flooding there. We'll have to watch out if the Weather Service decides to put out a flash flood in this area here, as we've seen multiple rain bands working its way through this same area time after time after time. But again, we do have a couple tornado warnings that we are continuing to watch for us here. And again, especially this one here in and around Spates Bridge, the northwestern part of Pitt County. This one has been fairly consistent and fairly strong as far as that rotation is concerned for us here. And that's the reason why crossing across Highway 121 as we speak right now. So Fountain, you are involved in this tornado warning, and this is going to continue to be rocking and rolling here for at least the next 15 to 20 minutes before this cell finally crosses off and towards Edgecombe County. But, you know, we've called out Belvoir. We've called out some of these places already earlier this morning, and we've got another cell in that same neighborhood, again, kind of coming across Highway 587 there, right around the Highway 258 as well, coming out of Farmville, tracking along Highway 121 as we speak right now. So as we kind of zoom in and kind of, again, change modes of the radar here, this gives us a very good indication of where this radar last scanned this potential tornado across the area there. Seven Pines Road, King Farm Road, California Road there. Again, kind of bounded in that northwest corner of Pitt County for us here early this morning. This is about the second or third time that we've had a tornado warning in the same area for us here. Not to say that we still can't see more tornado warnings as we head on in through later this morning. Again, you can kind of see that corridor has just continuing to pump that moisture right in from the coast and right into this repeated area here. Eventually, this band may start to lift off towards the north a little bit, which may put Greenville under the gun as far as this is concerned, as the system itself, again, the low-level center situated down here, making its way inland. But it is definitely on a course feeding that moisture right out of the Gulf of Mexico, right into us here in eastern North Carolina. And this is the reason why we have had multiple tornado warnings for us here. And not to say we still can't have more develop as we head on in through the morning hours or even this afternoon as we start to get more heating of the day for us here in eastern Carolina.
And we've seen some reports of damage as well in these locations there that we have that warning. It's kind of been up that 258 corridor that it's kind of following there. So if you are driving up towards the Raleigh area from our viewing area, you want to make sure you're taking some safe precautions, maybe to get off the road for a little bit as that heavy rain band moves through. But we've seen damages to schools, to houses. Some people there are out of power because a power line was knocked down, as well as some trees. So this is a powerful storm. So it's not something that you need to say, oh, it's okay, just a tornado warning. It could could possibly mean that there is a tornado on the ground, because we do have that rotation, and it's a pretty tight rotation there. You can see it very clearly in that green, right, moving through up towards King Farms Road. That's kind of where it's heading, because it's in that northwest direction. It's going to go towards that Raleigh area, but still, it is a very, very powerful storm, and it's bringing all these high winds and damage with it as it goes through eastern Carolina.
Yeah, again, whether you're under a tornado warning now or not, we kind of want to review the safety tips for us here. The safest place to be is in the interior part of a building. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So while we've been seeing Greene County and Pitt County under the gun here recently, we had tornado warnings in Craven County. We may get them again in Onslow County and Jones County. So if you're new to the area, if you're in town visiting for the Little League Softball World Series, and you're unfamiliar where to go with tornadoes, it's try to go to the interior part of the building, whether it be a hallway, a staircase, a closet, bathroom. Try to limit the amount of windows that are in your room, and more importantly, get to the interior side as soon as you hear the tornado warning pop out for us here. And again, I expect to see more multiple tornadoes continuing to occur for us here in the early morning hours as a result of these storms that we're going to be tracking into the area. Again, they're starting along the coast where we're seeing the bands of heavy rainfall. In fact, I wonder if I can even find an accumulation map here. I'm just curious how much rainfall we've seen here across the area. Of course, we've got a flood watch that remains in effect for us here across the entire area for these bands of heavy rain. Yeah, look in the last 24 hours, Jacksonville over 1.5 inches of rainfall. Same thing in Kinston, approaching 1.5 inches in the New Bern area, 1 inch in Greenville, and we will continue to add to these totals for us here going forward as a result of these heavy bands of rain that are working their way into the area. But again, we do have a tornado warning. This is continuing until 6:30 for us here in the northwestern corner of Greene County, yet again in and around Spates Bridge. I'm sorry, not Greene County, Pitt County for us here. Farmville into Fountain, although again, it looks like that cell may be getting ready to head across in towards the Pine Tops area. So again, if you know anybody traveling along Highway 58, 111 around the Pine Tops region here over towards Bethel this morning, go ahead and give them a call and let them know that there potentially could be a tornado inbound towards you here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. And again, these things are moving very fast, crossing over Highway 222, yet again, just to the east of Fountain for us here early this morning. And again, we will continue to watch these cells rotating in the atmosphere here as again they get inland, they start to lose their speed and the lower levels, and that starts to get some of those cells fired up for us here. Again, as Lana was mentioning, we watch offshore here. Yeah, there's some here, maybe a little rotation showing up there inbound in towards Emerald Isle. Again, Weather Service hasn't triggered a warning with that just yet, knock on wood, but again, we will be having to keep an eye on the potential of the heavy downpouring rain that we are tracking. Again, there it is about Emerald Isle. You can see the heavy rainfall with us here with the flag flapping, showing you that due east-southeasterly wind that we are continuing to track across the area here, just feeding these bands of moisture with the entire circulation around. Still Tropical Storm Debby. It's actually less impactful where the center is as it's making its way towards the Charlotte area and Florence, South Carolina, especially now, than what we're seeing here in the east. We are just right underneath this conveyor belt, this fire hose jet, pumping that moisture right from the Atlantic Ocean right into us here in eastern North Carolina. And again, eventually all this will start to lift, but then we're going to put Greenville back underneath the gun of some of that heavier band of rainfall that we are tracking inbound into the area as we speak right now. So at least for the next 6 or 7 minutes, we have this tornado warning that remains in effect in around the Fountain area, that northern part of, northwestern part of Pitt County for us here early this morning. And it either way, if you're getting ready to head out the door this morning, you're definitely going to be needing the rain gear, as we are certainly tracking some heavy rain across the area.
Yes, and this is again kind of the same location that we've been seeing these warnings. So if you live in any of these locations there near Greenville, or if you're near Farmville, these are also rural areas that we're seeing this rotation to. They don't have as many trees or mountainous areas that can keep us from having all of that tornadic activity. It's more flat land, so it's more common to see them there, but this is kind of following locations, Fountain and Falkland. You could be seeing those there. But as you can see here in Greenville, you can see the rain has already covered up that camera there, so they're getting some pretty heavy rain in downtown.
Yeah, and we are starting to see that rain come down heavy at times. In fact, I think we can go down a little bit to Pitt Community College for us here this morning. And again, we are seeing these bands of heavy rainfall working their way across the area as we continue with this tornado warning, at least going until 6:30 for us here in the Fountain area of Pitt County, that northwest corner. Continuing to see these bands of heavy downpouring rain through Swansboro, following right up just to the west side of New Bern. We've seen a couple tornadoes originate here in around the Vanceboro area, Wilmore area, and then continue to make their way on up in towards Spates Bridge in Greene County. We've had multiple tornado warnings there. And again, we do have this one cell as well that we are tracking exiting out of the Farmville and Fountain area, making its way inbound in toward Pine Tops with those heavy bands of rainfall through Chicod into Greenville. It looks like some potential rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches an hour with this.
And it looks like the National Weather Service in Morehead City has expired the tornado warning in Pitt County. So it looks like that's one less that we're looking at right now. But again, there could be more tornado warnings that we're going to be watching. We're going to see if there's any more. There's still that one there in Greenville. 6:30 is when it's going to expire there. It's still moving up towards that Rocky Mount area. So if you're starting to travel up north towards the city or traveling towards Greensboro, again, still locations that we're seeing these heavy bands of rain, as well as that rotation. And Les mentioned earlier that the eye of Tropical Storm Debby, you don't see as much rain there, but it's mainly the bands that are following it. You know, South Carolina saw a lot of those bands as it was moving through Florida and Georgia. And now that it's in South Carolina, we're seeing all the damage that they were seeing earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So far, we've only been seeing, as far as winds are concerned, not all that strong in the gradient for us here. But again, it's inside these stronger thunderstorms that are working their way across the area. Again, that fire hose jet is just coming right from the Atlantic Ocean, right from the Gulf Stream, right in across eastern part of Carteret County, Jones County, Craven, western Craven County, and then that extends on up and towards Greene County and Pitt County for us here. So we're coming up on the bottom of the hour for us here at 6:30. We've got this last, at least for this round, tornado warning that is posted for the Fountain area in and around Pitt County, as this is going to be crossing over in towards the Pine Tops, Crab Station area for us here. And as a result of that, we'll continue to see these potential heavy downpouring rains working their way across the area for us here. And as a result of that, that's why we continue with this tornado warning in effect for us here for this morning. And then we'll also watch for the potential of those heavy downpouring rains across the area going into the afternoon hours today for us here. So it's just about that 6:30 half hour. You're watching News 12 this morning. We've been doing a lot of weather coverage for us here in eastern North Carolina, and as a result, multiple tornado warnings that have been occurring during the early morning hours for us here.
And I'm pretty sure we'll probably see a couple more today. Yesterday we were pretty quiet with all this rain, but of course now that those bands are moving through, we're going to be seeing even more of those. As he mentioned, that fire hose jet there, we're going to be seeing a whole lot of rain move through. So this warning is until 6:30, so it looks like in about 2 minutes it should expire unless they continue it. But it's one thing that we're going to make sure that we're keeping a very close eye on, because we have seen multiple tornado warnings in that area all across this morning since we got in.
Yeah, it does look like that now. That has officially made its way on off in towards the Edgecombe County area, towards Pine Tops. But again, and not to say that we still can't have more storms that are going to be working their way through the area, as we've got this fire hose jet setting up for us here across eastern North Carolina. It's just about 6:30. We've had multiple tornado warnings so far this morning, and I don't think we're out of the woodwork yet as far as this is concerned. You're watching News 12 this morning. And we're set to rock and roll as Tropical Storm Debby is impacting us the greatest today here in eastern North Carolina.
From News 12 Now, alerting you to severe weather danger. We begin with Storm Track 12 weather.
Well, boy, it sure has been a busy morning this morning with all the tornado tornado warnings popping up across our area. Let's still tracking that. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mariah Davis.
I am Brian North. We are in a lull right now. We're just waiting for those alarms to go off again. It's been constant since, I don't know, 11 midnight. We saw some heavy damage going on in Wilson County at a middle school there. We're going to show you that in just a few minutes. Plus, we have live reports in Greene County where there's been some damage and some heavy activity there. But we're really watching that offshore flow coming right across Emerald Isle, the Bogue Banks right now. Les still tracking all the problem areas for us this morning. Les?
Yeah, we continue to watch multiple tornado warnings that have been occurring here during the overnight hours into the morning. We've got a tornado watch in effect for all of eastern Carolina until 1 o'clock this afternoon. And it has a lot to do with these bands of rain that we're just watching coming right in from the coastal areas. They get about 40 or 50 miles inland and they really do start to slow down. And as a result, that's what's starting to get these tornadoes popping across the area for us here. And we are stuck in the middle of this here for at least the majority of the morning hours. The actual center of Debby still holding winds at 50 miles an hour as the tropical storm making its way inland from, say, halfway between Myrtle Beach and Charleston, heading up towards the Charlotte area. But we are seeing heavier rain and more wind here with the destruction of the tornadoes than they are during the center of it here. We'll continue with that flood watch. That runs until 8 o'clock tomorrow night, as we have already seen heavy rainfall across the area for us here. And again, this is all around that circulation center for us here. The bands are going to continue to work their way into us here with the flash flood warnings off towards our south, a tropical storm warning in effect for us here, as well as that tornado watch. You can see Future Track continues to show these bands of rain shifting across practically the same area from Onslow County, Duplin County, up towards Pitt County, over into Carteret County. Now, eventually we will start to see some drying up of this here, but we could be looking at some of these rain bands 1.5 to 2 inches an hour. We'll have more on your forecast coming up in a little bit.
All right, let's get you caught up on some of the stuff we've been seeing around eastern North Carolina. That band of flow that's been coming across. We've been watching the Emerald Isle Bogue Inlet camera all morning long, keeping an eye on all the water and the erosion to the beach that's been happening there. We're also keeping an eye on what's been happening in Greene County, where we have seen some damage. I'll show you the pictures that Rebecca McGann had. This is just west of Snow Hill, Fort Run Road, and we can see that tree to the right of your screen. That is all cattywampus toppled over, but we're really focused on the structure and the power lines that are down in that area. Just one of the areas that we've heard of that has damage this morning.
And Rebecca McGann has been out there all morning. She actually took these pictures. Again, this is just west of Snow Hill, and she's still out there. Rebecca, what are you seeing at this time right now?
We're definitely getting a lot better picture of some of the damage that we got from this possible tornado as it's getting lighter outside. You can see behind me power lines and power crews are still working on getting those lines back up and running. Let me flip around my screen so I can show you a little bit closer. Hopefully you can hear me, but if you can see here, you can see they just got that piece of tree and debris off of that line. They're still working on getting it back up and running, but even back here you can look at all of the rain that we've had just in the past couple of hours, how deep and covered up that ditch is. So we've been getting a lot of rain, a lot of wind here. If you look over on this side, you can see this tree was hit by this possible tornado as well, and I'm just giving you a picture of kind of where we are seeing this damage and debris. And of course, here is that structure. We're definitely getting a better look at it now that it's getting lighter out. You can see, I mean, it's very, very damaged, almost flattened basically by this possible tornado that we're seeing. I'm seeing insulation. I think I see a couch further on the side. So I will be working on getting confirmation of what the structure was and whether or not there were any possible injuries. We do not know any of that yet, but even if you go right behind me, you can see some of that damage behind the structure. And then over on this side as well, you can see that entire downed tree that was pulled up from its roots from this strong winds and possible tornado. So we are definitely seeing a lot of damage here in Greene County. And again, power crews are still working on getting all of this restored, but we will keep you posted as we get going and see some more damage that is possible from these spin ups possibly. So we will let you know. But live in Greene County, Rebecca McGann for News 12.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Not far from there in Wilson County, specifically the town of Lucama. This is Springfield Middle School. We know the school was damaged sometime around 1 to 2 a.m. As we had those storms go through, possibly tornadoes. Obviously, you hear the alarm going off. We've been waiting for it. It's just been that kind of morning. Let's check in with our meteorologists as they are getting all their information together about where the latest tornado warning is happening. Lana Foss is in our weather center. Let's check in with her to see who is in the bullseye right now. Lana?
So right now I'm trying to get up the camera here for you to show you where it is, but it's Greene County again and Pitt County once more. Same locations that we've been seeing these tornado warnings pop off all day today. Here's that warning again for you. It's going to be until around 6:45. We're going to take a look and see if we see that rotation. So right there near Castoria, you can see right to the northeast of it. That's where that couplet is. I'm going to kind of circle it for you so you can kind of get a better idea of where it's at. And it's going to start moving again in that direction that we've been seeing, that northwestern direction. I'm going to kind of take these off so we can possibly see exactly where this should be going next. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and it says here, I'm taking a look at the thing that's come out, 6:45. It is moving around 35 miles per hour. So we've been seeing all of these couplets coming through, moving and around 30 to 50 miles an hour. So we're seeing different types, but I'm going to try and get it to kind of show you. It's going to start moving into the Raleigh area there, but Walsenburg, Saratoga, you could be seeing, and you see it moved a little bit there towards the north. We're going to take off that screen. You can see there at 587 going up the 264 corridor. That is where it's going to happen. And so we're going to be seeing more of these coming off today. But right now, we are focusing on that one couplet there over 587. We're going to take another look here at the radar for you so you can see again rain band moving all the way through there. Again, tornado warning until 6:45. It's going to be going up near Sandsburg and Wilson. We've been following this direction all day today, so we're taking a look here.
Not far from Lucama, where we saw the tornado earlier, or we think was a tornado earlier this morning that damaged the middle school in Springfield Middle School. So again, where the box is now, due west is where we hit earlier. You're looking right along that Highway 264 corridor where you have Fountain, you have Saratoga, but it looks like it's headed towards the Wilson area, which has been under the target this morning for a lot of areas and a lot of activity. So as we continue to follow this tornado watch that's happening, or tornado warning that's going on right now, again, this line has just been consistent all the way through. It seems like from the coast all the way up through Vanceboro, through Greenville, and this just seems to be another box that's been happening along that corridor where people have had their alarms going off all morning long.
Yeah, so if you have one of those weather radios, just like we do, you've probably heard it going off ever since last night. This is kind of, like you mentioned, the same area that we've been seeing these tornado warnings over and over again. This one is until 6:45, but take a look here at Tropical Storm Debby. You can kind of see the eye starting to move there near Myrtle Beach and near Wilmington. You can see it starting to move up more into North Carolina. Now the eye, it's not getting much action there, but it's this huge band of rain. You can see the yellow and red. That's where most of the damage we're going to be seeing. And we saw some downed trees and power lines. Kinston could see some possible heavy rain there, as well as some power outages, but it's mainly along this strong line here moving through. It's coming in here near Emerald Isle. And again, it looks like it's starting to strengthen up here as well. I'm going to kind of show you where it's going to strengthen up. So here's that band for you. It's going to continue to move that direction, and it's just going to continue to get stronger as the water here kind of makes it stronger there. It's going to get more fuel and moisture coming in from the ocean. But otherwise, we're going to take a look again at that tornado warning that we're seeing there near Greenville, kind of moving up into that Raleigh area. Again, 6:45. So if you're in some other locations there, Mercer Road, Schoolhouse Road, Appy Road, moving up towards 587. That's where we do see that rotation once more. And I'm going to bring that up again for you so you can kind of see where it's at there. It's right on the 587 corridor, moving northwest there. So you're going to want to make sure that you are staying in a safe place there as it does come towards you, because it could possibly make a tornado touchdown.
Yeah, this is the same area we've been watching throughout the morning hours for us here. Again, we were watching these bands rotating in. As you get further inland, they're losing their speed in the atmosphere, and they're starting to get the spin up tornadoes for us here. I don't know, was this like the 6th or 7th one we've seen here so far this morning? And again, you can kind of see we're not only seeing the tornado warning now, but we're also starting to see that corridor with that flash flood warning in effect for us here. Parts of Craven County into Jones County, western part of Lenore County, Pitt County. The heavy downpouring rain is going to be continuing for us here as, again, we are looking around the rotation of the center of this here, just firing that moisture right into the area for us here. It's those further inland areas that we see the speed starting to slow down with these bands, and that's where we're starting to see these tornadoes warnings for us here. We continue with a tornado watch. That goes on through until 1 o'clock this afternoon, but again, it's this northwest corner of Greene and Pitt County that we have been watching these multiple tornado warnings for us here as we've gone through the morning hours here. So far, we've had some damage reported in the Greene County area, but again, nothing as far as with these last 2 or 3 tornado warnings that we've been seeing across the same area for us here. This time, though, it's shifted just slightly off towards the southwest. We saw around Farmville and Fountain 15 or 20 minutes ago. Now it's that Walsenburg area up towards Saratoga. So if you know anybody that is traveling along Highway 264 this morning, whether you're headed in towards the Raleigh area or through Raleigh over in towards Greenville, give them the heads up that, again, there potentially could be a tornado on the ground in this part of Pitt County for us here early this morning. And again, it's that rotation center you see right there traveling along Highway 587 that we are continuing to watch for the early morning hours here. These heavy downpouring rains. This could be a rain-wrapped tornado. Not completely out of the question for this here. Speed on these are usually anywhere between about 25 to 40 miles per hour. So they do have a lot of velocity. There's some very strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere that these storms are able to tap into and mix that energy down to the ground. And that's why we may only not necessarily be dealing with just tornadoes, but also some damaging wind gusts from some of these heavier downpouring rains that we are tracking across the area. Again, that tornado watch remains in effect for all of the Carolinas here, offshore waters as well as the inland spots. That goes through until 1 o'clock this afternoon. We'll continue to see, again, this heavy corridor of rainfall that we've been tracking all morning. That's now where we do have this flash flood watch, and that goes until 9:45 this morning.
Yeah, we're hearing Trenton has some flooding going on. We have a crew headed to that area. So Trenton and Jones County, where they've been saturated with rain these last couple of weeks. Sounds like there's some flash flooding there that we have a crew that is going to check out this morning. But it's been, boy, in that trough, this just been going right up that corridor. And that's what we're worried about with these storms. If you're isolated under one of these troughs, the flash flooding, the saturation of the soil. We saw the tree down in Greene County.
Well, and
looks
that's
like
going
it
to be
was
the next
saturated.
thing. We've got so much rainfall now. We're beginning here now. Again, we have been in a drought. I'm pretty sure we're breaking the drought as far as this is concerned. But now we're going to start to turn our attentions to the rivers, the creeks, and the streams. Not only the flash flooding immediately now, we will see water level rises along the Neuse River, the Tar River, and we're really concerned about that northeast Cape Fear River from Chinkapin on down into the Burgal area. That's where we do have the potential of major flooding as we go through this weekend into the early part of next week. But again, we are on with another tornado warning for that northwestern corner for us here. And again, you can see that band of rain just filing right up through Swansboro, coming up through western Craven County, back up and towards the western Pitt County. And this is where we've been seeing that by the time they get inland areas here, enough speed starts to get the low levels slowing down. And it looks like we may have another, this is going to be a flood warning, rather, popping out here for us right now. That is going to be extended in the Duplin County area for us going forward here into the next several days. So this is the area we're on for the tornado warning here right now. Walsenburg until 6:45. So we're about to come up on the expiration time as far as this is concerned for us here. And we will continue to see now that officially dropped for us here in Eastern Carolina. So that is going to be expiring, and it does look like we may catch a bit of a break before the next one starts to fire up for us here. So again, we've got that cell moving out of that part of Pitt County, but you can see that corridor with the flash flood warning exactly where this heavy band has been setting up for. So if you're out there driving here in the early morning hours, use caution. An innocuous looking creek that you're able to pass by, or a ditch that doesn't really look like it has much of an issue, all of a sudden could spell out onto the roadway, or even wash out a culvert that goes underneath the road. So again, here in the early morning hours, you caution out there on the roadways.
All right, let's get you caught up with what's been going on all morning long. I'm Brian North, Mariah Davis here as well. There has been some damage reports. You are looking at pictures from Greene County, just west of Snow Hill. Fort Run Road is where we found this tree, which you see on the right was cattywampus at the time. We now know it's fully down, and this is what we were just talking about with the root system, with trees getting to the point where they can get blown over because of all the moisture. And we also see a building damaged. We don't know what exactly caused it. We do know there was a lot of tornado watches and warnings throughout the area of that part of Greene County. Power lines down. Rebecca McGann was on scene earlier for us this morning, and she was showing us the power crews out there because we have a lot of power outages, which we'll get to in just a minute. Not far from this location is Springfield Middle School in Lucama. This is in Wilson County, southwest of Wilson, near the I-95 corridor, north of Kenley. And this is the middle school that was severely damaged by the storms that rolled through about 1 to 2 a.m. And this is the video we are getting of that school, heavily damaged. They're supposed to have an open house there August 20th, but obviously they're going to be doing a lot of reconstruction there, and we'll have to figure out where the kids in Lucama will go. It's a feeder middle school to the other Wilson County schools in Fike and Beddingfield, and so that's the most damage we've seen so far this morning. We have had a lot of power outages as well. Mariah Davis has been tracking that for us this morning.
Well, right now, Duplin has 766 outages. Wilson, just a 2,034 outages, and then Sampson, 2,200 outages, and Onslow, 2,448 outages. So most of those counties who are experiencing power outages right now are to the west. Mostly, they do have some power outages in around Cherry Point, Havelock, and a little bit around Trent Woods as well, but nothing major. Most of the power outages are to the west.
Looks like Carteret County is getting a lot more now with that trough going through. Jones County has certainly had quite a few later. Now they have no one out. They had some earlier. Let's go back. Let's move our little hand down to Carteret County again, and we can see right now 366 customers without the power right now. So this is going to be a continuing situation. We have had power crews standing by in our area just for these moments. So kudos to them for helping us get the electricity back that we are so dependent on these days. All right, let's take you around the area. We've got web cameras that are around and operating. And this is one of our favorites, the Bougainville Pier, Emerald Isle. And what I want you to notice is look at that little trough of water right at the bottom of your screen. That's that flow that's been coming in, and beach erosion is certainly going to be an issue here. The red flags are out. Now let's check in at the Pitt Community College camera in Winterville. They've had the storms rolling through there, several tornado warnings that have happened, and some pretty good rain going in the western part of Pitt County and Greenville right now. And so that is what it looks like at Pitt Community College this morning. Check out the breeze. We've had a steady wind as you're headed out the door this morning. A lot more wind than we saw yesterday as the center of circulation getting closer to our area, and we'll be going inland and then moving up the middle of our state. We're on that dirty side of that center of circulation, that's where we're getting a lot of this tornadic activity. All right, let's see if we have any other web cameras that we can tour around. I know we have the Tryon Palace web camera. We've got here's the one from Pivers Island in Beaufort. Looking across Taylor's Creek, and look at the chop in Taylor's Creek this morning. So obviously the wind picking up and causing some things. Now, Beaufort has not been in that trough throughout the morning, so they've been spared a lot of the rain they've seen in the western part of Carteret County and Emerald Isle, the Havelock area, basically the Highway 70 corridor from Morehead City right up through to New Bern, seeing a lot of that heavy rain this morning. All right, so we have the Tryon Palace camera. If you have that anywhere, we can try to get to that. And, this is the beauty of live television when we get to do stuff on air that we normally prepare behind scenes. But because we've been dealing with all the tornado warnings this morning, it's been a very fluid situation for us. And we've been checking out all the areas. Again, crews out in Greenville, in Snow Hill, in Greene County this morning. We've been tracking was watching on Facebook some people talking about the tornado sirens going off, the Caswell tornado sirens going off in the Kinston area. A lot of people in Lenore County have been on pins and needles all night long. Coffee consumption is going to go way up. Traffic cones are going to be out there. This is going to be a sign of what you're going to be seeing a lot of. There's our Tryon Palace camera looking towards the Trent River now. And again, not bad there. A little chop in the river with the wind. Again, the winds have really picked up. Even when you're not in that trough that's been going through, causing a lot of the spin in the atmosphere that Les still has been following. All right, we've let Les and Lana get a drink of water. They've been going at this since, gosh, what time did you come out here?
I walked in at 2 o'clock this morning, and Donnie and Grant were doing tornado coverage there, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since for us here. And again, we're stuck underneath this continuous band of rainfall, although looking offshore, it may be letting up a little bit, and that's being conservative as far as that potential is concerned there. A lot of heavy downpouring rain working its way, and that's why we do have that flash flood warning now in effect in the counties right along that corridor here, as we are starting to see it lift a little bit further off to the north and the east here. It's kind of starting to get over back towards the Highway 70 corridor for us here as we've gone through the morning hours, but it's been this inland area here, western Pitt County, Greene County, that's just been seeing copious amounts of rainfall for us here. And that's also where we have been seeing some of the damage being reported around eastern Carolina here, especially in that Greene County area. Rebecca McGann is standing by live for us here with a ground truth report.
Les, we are getting a much better idea of some of the damage that happened overnight as the daylight is coming out here. So let me get off camera real quick and show you. I'm going to see we still have power crews on scene of Highway 58 right near Fort Run Road here in Greene County. Amy, I'm going to have you point over to this structure that we have. I just spoke with the owner of this house that was pretty much demolished by this possible tornado. Hopefully you can see it. Luckily, no one was in the home. This is what the owner told me just a few minutes ago. No one was home at the time of the damage, so everyone was safe, thankfully. But if you look past the home, too, you can still see some of that damage from this possible tornado just ripping into these established trees. If you come past this power line, they're still working on getting these power lines back up and running, but you can see over here we have a tree that was pretty much ripped up from its roots. So it definitely had a lot of wind, a lot of damage here in Greene County, especially on Highway 58. And then Amy, I'm going to have you turn over here where we can see a lot of the ditch that is filling up with water from this heavy torrential rain that we've been seeing this morning as well. Again, working on those power lines. You can see some ripped up trees and limbs over here. And when we got here around 4:45 this morning, this ditch was completely empty. Now, if you look towards the when you look towards the church, that ditch is getting full, but we are keeping an eye on everything, and we will make sure to keep you updated. Les, I understand we've got some more stuff that's going on.
Early this morning, and again, it's been along just to the east of Highway 70 where we've been seeing this now flash flood warning that's in effect for us here. But look at some of the rainfall totals for us here. And again, you'll kind of see we'll bounce around. Again, these are Doppler estimated rainfall. These aren't ground truth radar. This is only radar estimate, not actually ground truth measurements for us here. But you'll notice that some of those heavier bands, 3.5, 4 inches of rainfall possible, have fallen in this area. And again, that's the reason why we do have this flash flood warning that has been triggered for us here in eastern Carolina. And it's all because of the way that the rotation is around this system. Right now, we don't have any active warnings, but now as soon as I said that, I'll be cursing myself here because there's a couple areas we're still watching as far as rotation is concerned here. We're starting to see maybe a little bit of let up from the offshore areas here for us as it continues to fire in across Pitt County, Greene County. Again, you saw Rebecca McGann there reporting on damage where we've seen multiple tornado warnings in Pitt County and as well as into Greene County as well, with some of the rainfall rates coming down 1 inch to 2 inches an hour. That's the reason why we do have that flood warning, flash flood warning in effect for us here in eastern Carolina. And again, multiple aspects what we're going to be tracking with this system as we go on in through the next couple days. We've been talking talking about it. We've been warning about it as far as the potential for severe weather. We check that off of the list. Flash flooding, we got that potentially happening here for us right now. The winds themselves will start to increase now that we are starting to see this system move for us here a little bit. We will see the winds increase a little bit. Could be looking at maybe 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. That's the reason why we do have a tropical storm watch in effect for us here across the east. Or no, that was upgraded to a warning. It was upgraded to a warning. So we have that to worry about. And really, this doesn't get out of here until later tomorrow. In fact, take a look at future track for us here as we go on through the day today. We are going to continue to see these bands of heavy soaking rainfall working their way across the area, working into the area for us here. You'll notice temperatures really don't raise all that much, low 80s. We're not really concerned about the temperatures with the cloud cover here. We're just concerned about the repeated rounds of rain coming our way for us here. Eventually, though, we see the wind starting to switch direction as we go into later tomorrow. That's going to be a front driving through, and that's going to allow us to see some drier air moving here for the weekend, but not before we potentially still have another 4 to maybe 5 inches of rainfall. And again, especially across those southern areas of Jones County, looking at Onslow County, looking at Duplin County for us here. Just repeated rounds of rain coming our way for us here. Speak to my director, Forrest. What did you say about Rebecca? She's live, ready to go with another report? Nope. Okay, sorry. All right, sorry about that. But yeah, we'll continue to see these rounds of rain working their way through the area. You'll notice you get north of the Tar-Pamlico River. Yeah, we're going to see some rainfall, but that's not where these heavier bands have set up. It's further off to the south for us here that we need to be concerned as far as the severe weather is concerned with the heavy rainfall. Still a weather alert day for us tomorrow with the potential of these heavy downpouring rains. And then after that, don't get scared by the icons going in through the weekend for us here. We are going to be seeing sea breeze showers and storms developing. Warm, humid air mass is still in place, so we get the front to kind of drop the dew points a little bit, but not all that much for us here. And as a result of that, we'll still see the potential of some of those isolated storms even into the early part of next week. And if that isn't insult for injury enough, there is an area in the tropics that we are also keeping our eye on that some of our forecast models has shown a week to 10 days from now could be near the southeast coast of the United States. So we told you from the get-go this is going to be a rough hurricane season for us here, and we are definitely feeling the impacts for that here in eastern Carolina. Again, as of right now, we don't have any active tornado warnings in effect, but you can see that band of heavy rainfall out there with that flash flood warning that is in effect for right along that corridor there from Carteret County, western part of Jones County, Craven County, and towards western Pitt County. This is going to continue as we go on through the morning hours for us here, and we are not seeing the end of this because the actual low-level center, which is headed in towards the Charlotte area, is still pumping that moisture to us here in eastern Carolina. And again, it's tapping into the Gulf Stream waters. It's tapping into the Bahamas. You can trace this back to, continuing to file that moisture right into us here in eastern North Carolina. This is one of the reasons why I always stress, do not get caught up with where the actual low-level center of the storm system is going. It is the sphere of influence around it, and that's exactly what we are seeing for us here early this morning. Again, we do have that tornado watch that remains in effect for us here. That goes all the way through until 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we're still going to be underneath that gun for the potential of severe weather with these storms coming in from the coastal areas and getting inland. The speed slows down because of the friction of the land, and that starts to pop those severe thunderstorm warnings for us here, and as well as the tornado warnings. And we also have that flash flood warning that is in effect for us here. All of us under a flood watch. That goes all the way through until tomorrow evening before we finally watch this pattern cool down. So it is definitely a weather alert day for us today. Weather alert day for us as we do head on in through the day tomorrow as well. But at least we've got a chance to dry out with some sunshine coming our way as we do head on in through the upcoming weekend. You have been watching News Channel 12 this morning on ABC. I assume, are we still switching over to Fox or are we staying on ABC? We're going to stay on ABC? All right, we're staying on ABC for us here, so you won't be able to watch Good Morning America. You're going to be happy with our faces here as we go on through the morning hours.
From News 12 Now, alerting you to severe weather danger. We begin with Storm Track 12 weather.
Well, it sure is a lot to talk about this morning with the tornado warnings popping up all across eastern Carolina this morning. Les still tracking that for us. And we have crews out all morning long. Thanks for joining us here on News 12. I'm Mariah Davis.
Brian North. We'll get to Good Morning America here in a little bit. We want to get the full wrap up here now that we have the quote-unquote calm in the storm with all the tornado watches and warnings we've been having in the overnight hours. We've seen damage in Wilson County and Greene County, and we've got flooding going on in Trenton right now in Jones County. So we're going to check on that in just a minute. Let's get caught up with Les Still and go around the area and find out where any of the problem areas are right now if for some reason you have to head out the door this morning and travel any place.
Yeah, we've seen multiple tornado warnings during the overnight hours for us here. We've got multiple watches that are in effect. You'll notice that yellow, that's showing us that we do have that tornado watch. That extends all the way through until 1 o'clock this afternoon. You can see that corridor from the Crystal Coast up through Trenton and Kinston. That is a flash flood warning that runs until 9:15, and that's been the area that we have been seeing the heavy soaking rainfall. Again, starting along the coastal areas here, although it is starting to shift a little bit. We saw it pretty much in the Swansboro area, Emerald Isle area. That is now starting to get along the Highway 70 corridor. So New Bern, Havelock starting to open up with some of these heavy downpouring rains coming up the Highway 70 corridor for us here. Greenville now starting to see some of that heavier rain, which was off towards the east, and that's where we saw the multiple tornado warnings in around Snow Hill in the northwestern part of Pitt County. That's now going to start to shift into the downtown city itself in Greenville. We had one storm cell track right up Highway 43 from Vanceboro on through Greenville in towards the Rocky Mount area, but it's these heavy downpouring bands of rain that is creating the issues for us here in eastern North Carolina. Again, we did have multiple tornado warnings in this area around Fountain, Farmville, Walstenburg, Spates Bridge area. Now we do have that flash flood warning that again is in effect until 9:15. Heavy downpouring rain all along this corridor for us here. And again, the low-level center that is Debby, and it is still a tropical storm, is located well off to our southwest for us here as it is making its way back inland across South Carolina. And as a result of that, we'll continue to see this rain band feeding into us here through the morning hours. Now, again, eventually this will start to make its way up towards the Charlotte area. You can see multiple flash flood warnings in effect across South Carolina here into North Carolina, even out towards the Charlotte area. You see that heavy rain band starting to affect them out there. So all of the Carolinas are underneath the gun as far as this is concerned. This is the reason why we said the last couple days it was going to be a long duration event that you had to prepare. This was going to be a marathon. Not only do we have the flash flood warnings and tornado warnings and watches in effect for us today, we got flood watches up through tomorrow, and then we're going to be starting to watch the potential of a river flooding as far as the Northeast Cape Fear River. Last time I checked yesterday, that was forecasted to get about 18 feet. That's going to be major flooding as far as that is concerned for us here. And we are going to continue to see the heavy rainfall for us coming our way for as we go on through the next day or so. All right, well, enough of me talking. Let's see somebody that is out in the field searching for damage. It's our own Rebecca McGann who's standing by live in Greene County. Rebecca?
Les, yeah, I'm in Greene County right now. We've been showing you some of the damage from these possible tornadoes overnight, but this is something that's popped up since we've been out here. Look at this flash flooding. Look at these cars coming through this road. This road is getting to be pretty flooded now from all of this torrential rain that we've been seeing this morning. It really hasn't let up. It's been continuously raining this whole time that we've been out here since about 4:45 this morning. And like I said, this whole pond ditch area was almost completely dry a couple of hours ago. Now I'm going to have you zoom in towards the road. You can see it running across the road and then down into this ditch on the other side as well. So we've been talking about flash flooding, and this is one of the perfect examples of this. Is yes, you can still see that double yellow line, but there is still a lot of water on that road. So if you are unsure whether or not your car can make it through one of these puddles or ponds that is going through the road, please do not try it. if you decide to go through one of these areas, make sure you are going slow. Turn around, don't drown. Make sure you are safe out here as we are seeing this flash flooding occur. As I said, this popped up really within the last hour that it started washing out onto the road. So conditions are changing fairly quickly out here. As I said, we've still got the down power lines on this side. We've got the flooding on this side. So as these conditions continue, make sure you are being careful and make sure you are being aware of when you're traveling that you could be seeing these potential problem spots. For now, live in Greene County, Rebecca McGann for News 12.
And another one of our crews are out driving towards Trenton. We had reports of flooding there. You can see it's raining pretty good there as he's heading out there to try to get some videos and a look at that there.
This is NC 41, just north of Trenton. I've driven this road many a times, right near our tower as well. You can see the ditches are pretty full. They've had a lot of rain in Trenton and the greater Jones County area. It's been saturated, and now they're kind of in that trough. They're out of it right now. It's a little bit to the east, so they're not getting the downpours that they were having earlier, but we're going to check out in Trenton. And again, this is 58, some of the houses along there as well. We are going to check in on the flooding reports that are going on in the Trenton area, but some of those yards that we've seen saturated pretty well. Let's check in on some of the damage that we've seen earlier this morning. This was in Greene County. Rebecca McGann found this structure she says is some sort of home, confirmed with a homeowner, that is crumpled up in the middle of your screen. The tree to the right, which was leading about 45-degree angle, is now all the way down. The power lines have been fixed in that area as power crews. They are out and about trying to do the best they can this morning with keeping the current back on for a lot of you who have lost power. We'll talk about power outages in just a minute, but really the biggest video we've been seeing this morning is out of Wilson County, where Springfield Middle School was damaged by the storm. A lot of people say it was a tornado that hit. Some of the eyewitnesses. We also know the Wilson County government Facebook page reporting 4 homes have significant damage in that area of Lucama as well. Lucama is southwest of Wilson, right along the I-95 corridor, just north of Kenley. And this middle school, they were supposed to have an open house coming up August 20th. Well, they got a lot of things to clean up, and structurally, we'll see how long it gets that school to get back up and operating for the kids. But it looks like they may have to find another place to go for a while, depending on how much damage is done to the other parts of the building. So we'll keep an eye on that story as well. All right, power outages. We've been keeping an eye on that. I know Mariah Davis has been checking those numbers throughout the morning for us.
And right now, Duplin has about 766 outages, and Wilson has 2,034 outages. Sampson has 2,200 outages, and then Onslow 2,448 outages. So we're mostly seeing a lot of the outages to the left, even though that could change since this is an active storm.
You can see where the little hand is over Carteret County right now. 372 outages reported in Carteret and Northern and Craven. 70 homes without power right now. As we check, Jones has 0 reported, which is interesting. They had a lot earlier, but either crews worked hard or we need to update that report. Let's go over to Pitt County, if we can slide up to Pitt County, and we will see that in Pitt County, just 2 outages reported there, despite all the winds and tornado watches they had going through there. Onslow County, we're checking in as well. They've been part of that flow. How about that? 2,445 outages in Onslow County right now. So they've had quite a bit in the greater Jacksonville area. We know Swansboro, the eastern part of the county, was in that trough earlier this morning. So crews that were standing by for days now out and about trying to fix the power when they can, when they're getting these breaks in this rain-banned storms that are coming from Debby. And this is rain band life we're living in right now, because we're seeing some parts just under tremendous rain and precipitation, while others, they're in the clear right now. So we're checking on Pamlico County. Just slide over to Pamlico there to see, they haven't really been in it this morning at this time, but we're starting to see that storm system creep to the east a little bit now. So we will check with Les Still here in just a minute to find out where those storms are headed throughout this morning. But heavy rain bands over New Bern right now, Vanceboro area, which is seeing its fair share of activity. There was some tornado watches earlier there this morning. Nothing confirmed that we know of that touched down. But if you've seen something that we have not known about, we'd like to hear from you. You can go to our WCTI12.com. Chime in with pictures and videos. Message me personally if you want to.
Or me.
Or Mariah or anybody on our staff here, and we will certainly love to hear from you because you're our eyes and ears out in the field in places that we can't always be. All right, let's check in with Les still. Les, you ready to go?
Give me a couple seconds.
All right, Les will be ready to go here.
Let's check in with some webcams.
Oh yeah, here's our webcams. There we go. Here's the one we've really been keeping an eye on. That I'm surprised that flag is still attached this morning. It's been getting blown pretty well. The red flag warning at Emerald Isle. This is the Bogue Inlet Pier. The waves now starting to move. So we're looking in a direction that is south right now with our Emerald Isle camera. So they're starting to move a little westerly direction right now. We saw them coming in earlier. We saw a little trough right to the left of the pier this morning through the sand. And beach erosion is going to be something that we're going to have to check on once the storm passes through to find out how many of our beaches. North Topsail is usually an area that has a lot of problems with beach erosion all along the Bogue banks. So heavy wind action going on there. All right, let's check in Winterville, our Pitt Community College camera, where we saw a lot of activity going through in Greenville and Pitt County earlier this morning. A lot of wet parking lots there. Really kind of just gray skies. Looking to the east right now of what's happening in Greenville. Again, the wind blowing pretty good. We've seen a lot more wind, sustained wind this morning as we've been getting the center of circulation a little bit closer to us. Here's the Craven in Craven County. This is the Tryon Palace, and check out to the right. Now you can barely see the bridge now. The Trent River Bridge getting tougher to see because of the rain that's falling in New Bern right now. This is Tryon Palace looking south over the lawn to the Trent River. The Neuse River would be to the left, and we're getting some pretty good rain in Craven County in the New Bern area right now. Any other cameras we want to look at this morning? I'm letting our producer Josh drive the vehicle right now. I'm used to driving myself, so this is being a passenger is never easy for me. So, but checking out all of our web cameras to give you the ground truth reports is so important. Yeah, let's check in on Beaufort and even in Morehead City. So
There it is. I don't know. Can you hear the rain?
On our roof here in our station in New Bern, we are getting some good rain. And again, some people getting really good rain. Some are not seeing any right now. This is, again, rain band life. This is the algae lab that's along Morehead City, and the wheels are still spinning. Apparently, the wheels of progress when it comes to algae exploration doesn't stop, even when you have a tropical storm that's rolling through. But check out the windsock that's blowing, and that's the direction that Les has said it's been going all morning long as it continues to have that one trough coming, I guess, inflow. I always like to say the outflow, but it's inflow, I guess, is the proper terminology that Les still is tracking for us this morning.
Inflow into us here in Eastern Carolina, outflow, though, around the system itself. And again, we have been watching this corridor of heavy rainfall for us here, looking for the potential of those heavy downpouring rains for us here in Eastern North Carolina. Again, you can see here as we switch over to Max 1, the heavy downpouring rains and the multiple tornado warnings that we've had across the area for us here as we've gone through the morning hours as a result of the heavy downpouring rain. If we switch over to Max 1, I got some other graphics that I want to show us for us here as we continue to watch this corridor of rain set up from the coastal areas through New Bern into Vanceboro, Cove City area. This is why we do have that flash flood warning that is in effect for us here in Eastern Carolina. Again, you'll also notice that there has been some lightning associated with these storms for us here. Can we source Max 1 for me, please? And as a result of this system sitting down off to our south, it made landfall, second landfall, thank you, there we go, second landfall in here around the Myrtle Beach area. And also, if you can put me on chroma key, please. We'll be watching that tropical storm warning that was in effect along our coastal areas for us here with that continued circulation around the low-level center. Again, this is lifting off to the northwest. But you can see, again, it's that circulation around it, that sphere of influence, as I always talk about for us here. The system itself is going to quickly make its way towards the Virginia-North Carolina border by tomorrow morning. And when that does, that's going to allow a front to move in from the north and the west to slide in across the area. It's still going to be trackable as a tropical low headed into New England going into this weekend. Now, the problem is going to be, we know how much rainfall we're seeing here in Eastern Carolina. That tropical moisture is going to be spread all along this track. So they are going to be looking for heavy flooding rainfall across Pennsylvania, New York, into New England with potentially a foot of rainfall up in that neighborhood there. as this tropical system continues to make its way northbound. We've talked about it for the last several days. Multiple impacts with this system. I know a lot of people got lulled into the sense of security. We didn't really have these heavy bands yesterday. We didn't really have the severe weather associated with it. But now that the system is starting to unwind, we are going to start to see these impacts here again. We've had multiple tornado warnings across the area here, and some reports of some damage as well. As we get this rain to taper off later tomorrow, we will eventually start to watch the river starting to flood, and that's what we're going to be concerned about, especially in Duplin County, the Northeast Cape Fear River. That potentially could have a major crest around 18 feet. We'll watch rises on the Tar River. We'll watch rises on the Neuse River as well. The Kashai River as well as the Roanoke River, not as much. We're not getting as much rainfall across the northern areas for us here as we are further off towards the south. But again, we'll also have to watch what happens inland areas around Raleigh and Fayetteville. That's got to drain through us here. Tornado watch does remain in effect for us. That goes until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Notice not only just inland areas, but also for the coastal areas as well. We do have that coastal flood advisory that is in effect. Those southeasterly winds continuing to pile that water up here. It's going to be minor, maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 feet of water inundation for us here, but we are going to see those water level rises in the Neuse River here. Coming in this morning, I noticed that the planks going out onto where the docks were already up at a little northern slope of an angle for us here. Back up the, again, a lot of water trying to come down the Pamlico River. That's going to be met by the southeasterly winds for us here, continuing with that. There's that tropical storm warning along the coastal areas and the offshore water areas for us here, but it's these bands of tropical rain that we have been tracking across the area for us here for the last several hours that will eventually start to let up as we head through tomorrow. More isolated sea breeze showers and storms across the area as we do head on in through the day on Saturday and Sunday for us here. Stay with us. We've got more to come.
Yeah, Les, we just got a press release from Greene County Emergency Management. I'm going to step off camera while Amy shows you some of the flash flooding that we've got here in Greene County right now. We've got cars, trucks moving through this water. Again, be safe, but Greene County Emergency Management confirms a tornado touched down in Greene County. No injuries reported. It touched down at approximately 2:25 this morning in western Greene County. It caused significant damage to 3 residences and 2 agricultural farms. They say first responders and emergency management staff assessed the damage areas and no injuries were reported. Now, they are still encouraging residents to stay tuned to our local media and official Greene County channels for further updates as Tropical Storm Debby is moving through. But again, take a look at some of this flooding that we've seen here in the past few hours. This big ditch is just getting worse. It is just getting fuller. So as you are seeing people travel, maybe they're heading to work, make sure you are being extremely cautious if you still have to drive out right now. I know New Bern is getting significant rain. We are still seeing rain here in Greene County. It's not as torrential as it was a couple of hours ago, but it is not stopping here so far. So again, 3 residences were severely damaged, 2 agricultural farms by a confirmed tornado from Greene County Emergency Management. We'll keep you updated as we get more confirmation of some of this information. For now, live in Greene County, Rebecca McGann for News 12.
And be real careful with that water you saw rushing near roadways. That can cause some roads to wash out. We saw those problems in 2015 and 16 with Hurricanes Matthew and Michael. What you're looking at now is what is believed to be tornado damage in Lucoma, which is Wilson County, the western part of Wilson County, where we're told Springfield Middle School sustained, and you can see sustained significant damage to what they think is a tornado that touched down there around 3 a.m. Wilson County government officials on their Facebook page also saying 4 homes in that area also suffered significant structural damage. But Springfield Middle School, you can see the mess that was made there. We have Andrew McClung, who is now live in Lucoma, to get us the latest information on what he is seeing on the ground at this time. Andrew?
Yeah, Brian, you can see the school. I'm going to step out of the way. The school is severely damaged from the front of the school to the middle of the school as well. And not only are we seeing damage at the school, but I'm at a house just right beside, and I just spoke to the man just a few minutes ago. He said around 3:30 this morning, his daughter woke him up to call him and tell him that they had a tornado warning, to tell him and his wife to get in the bathtub of their house. And they got in the bathtub. He said he heard a lot of rumbling outside, and then he walked out when it was daylight, and he saw the damage that had been done to the school. And then this is just, look at this other damage too. I'm gonna have to zoom in on it real quick. Over there you can see tree damage right there near the school. His house is only about 600 yards away from the school, maybe a little closer in some parts too. The only damage that his house received was the mailbox was taken down. And as you can see, again, this damage at the school, I mean, part of the roof torn off right there. It's kind of hard to see a little up close, but I mean, it is from there to the front of the school as well. And again, I mean, you can see, I mean, this school took some severe damage from, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. I've been driving out to the scene, but I mean, it is flooded roads here in the Wilson County area as well. The road is blocked off as well. You cannot drive through this area unless you live in the area right now. As I'll turn over this way, you can kind of see the Wilson County deputy right there blocking the roadway. The road is closed. The only reason I'm even able to be here right now is because we had somebody just let us park on their property. I mean, it is a bad damaged area, flood waters, the school again. And again, we're hearing reports of other homes damaged as well. It's still a very active situation here, as I mean, we're just now starting to see what the school looks like in the daylight hours again here in Wilson County. And we'll continue to update you on air and online at WCTI12.com. But for now, reporting live in Wilson County, Andrew McClung, News 12.
All right, thank you, Andrew. So good to see the video during the day. We could see, Les and I were observing it, that it looks like both ends of the school have been blown out, and there's classic indications of a possible tornado hitting there, and the pressurized issues that they have there. And now, again, this is the video from early this morning when it was dark, when you could see the inside of what happened to that building and all the structural damage that happened at Springfield Middle School in Lucoma, which is southwest of Wilson, north of Kenly, right along the I-95 corridor. We'll continue to track that throughout the rest of the day. All right, let's go check with one of our other reporters who is out and about in his car, and this is in the town of Trenton, where they've been having some reports of some flooding here. You can see the sidewalk. This is interesting that the sidewalk has so much water on it, but that's just an indication of the downpours that they've been having there. They're getting a little bit of a break right now, but Trenton, that was an area that had real problems during Hurricane Florence with the flooding. This is more of a flash flooding situation here with all the rain, but look at the front yard of the one home there in Trenton, and we're keeping an eye, of course, over at the mill. There's a dam there in Trenton and Jones County, and the flood levels, we'll have to see what they do here as all that water runs downhill, but we've got a lot more water falling out of the skies right now, so we're still far from having our final rain totals. But this is the live look in Trenton and Jones County for you this morning. Let's check out your power outages map. We've been keeping a track, and it's been interesting. To the west of our viewing area is where we've seen the most power outages, but we're seeing a big increase going on. Onslow County, look at the number there where our little hand is over Onslow County, 2,435 homes without power right now. So if you're watching us on Facebook or watching us at WCTI12.com on our stream, that's because you don't have power to your television. A lot of people in Onslow County without power.
And some of the other places like Duplin, it says about 620 customers out there. Let's go to some of these other counties. In Lenore County, just 33 outages there at the current time. And in Craven County, just 70 outages there. But most of the people who have the larger amount of outages are to the west of us this morning.
Yeah, they were going to Carteret County, 372. And if you want to go up, let's see Beaufort County. We can go check up there to see to your right a little bit there, Beaufort County. See, they haven't been in that trough yet. They're starting to get some of the effects of that rain now, and we'll see if that changes. Pitt County's done a really good job. Only 2 outages in Pitt County right now. And let's see if Greene County, we can go down there as well, where they don't have anybody out right now. We saw the power crews again working, and we're still waiting to see if these numbers are as current as possible. But a lot of people dealing with the power outage. Crews have been out there working hard this morning for us. Let's give you a tour around our Facebook page, or our web cameras too, if we have a chance, to show you what it kind of looks like in certain parts of our viewing area right now. We'll check in on the Beaufort, the Duke Marine Lab camera. Look at Taylor's Creek. There's a really good chop there. That's that wind coming off of the ocean, and that's going to cause a little bit of higher water levels with the wind blowing that water back in. We'll see some of that on the rivers and stuff as well as that center of circulation moves through our state. Let's check in over at Emerald Isle, the Bogue Inlet Pier. That's where we've seen the most activity this morning with that trough coming onshore, and look how frothy the ocean is right now as we are seeing some pretty good flow. Let's check in with Les Still, who's been tracking that flow coming off the ocean for us this morning.
Well, that flow is bringing the tropical downpours with it. Again, we've seen it kind of shifting from Onslow County through Jones County. Now that's starting to move into Craven County in the eastern part of Carteret County, as well as now getting into most of Pitt County. It's kind of been off to the western side of Pitt County, now starting to shift as we're watching this whole storm system move inland. Again, we are watching these brief heavy downpours. We've seen a lot of heavy downpouring rain, and that's why we do have this flash flood warning that is in effect for us here for Fountain, Farmville, all the way down to the Crystal Coast, basically where this alley has set up. But there's the low-level center kind of twisting back towards the Charlotte area. And again, you can see that sphere of influence I always talk about with the circulation around the system, pulling moisture up out of the Bahamas and sending it up to here in eastern Carolina. That's the reason why we do have the tornado watch that's in effect. That goes in through until 1 o'clock. We've got this corridor here that we've been seeing the heavy band of rainfall trailing through. You saw when Rebecca McGann in Greene County was showing you across the ditch, the road there, how that rain was trying to get through the culvert, and that's why we get a lot of washouts. Too much rainfall going through a small culvert that could take out that road there, and that's why we stress, turn around, don't drown. You may think that there's a road there, but it's actually washed out, and you could end up in a worse situation than trying to take a 10-minute detour around that area for them there. As we go on through the morning hours here, we will continue to watch these bands of heavy rainfall work their way across the area. They will slowly shift northbound, but we're still going to continue to watch the potential of the heaviest rainfall south of the Tar-Pamlico River. Now, we'll still see those bands of rain overnight tonight. Eventually, though, everything will start to shift offshore. See how the winds start to change direction? This is going to be a front coming through the area for us here late tomorrow evening. That's going to take it offshore, and we are going to be watching that steadier rainfall finally coming to an end as we dry out going into the afternoon hours on Saturday. Rainfall-wise, though, could still see some good soaking rain totals for us here, as we potentially could be watching anywhere between 4 to maybe 6 inches of rainfall, especially across the southern areas for us here, but more just isolated storms evolved as we head through the weekend. All right, we're going to switch over to Fox Eastern Carolina coming up here at the bottom of the half hour and return ABC to Good Morning America.
From News 12, now on Fox Eastern Carolina, alerting you to severe weather danger. We begin with Storm Track 12 weather.
Thanks for joining us on Fox. It certainly has been a busy morning with storms moving their way across eastern North Carolina. We have had crews out all morning. I'm Mariah Davis.
I'm Brian North. Les Still's been tracking everything as well, including a lot of tornado watches and warnings. Now we're just kind of tracking that flow coming off of Carteret County, going up through, dumping copious amounts of rain. And one of the things we want to start warning people about is with the water rushing along the roadways now, be careful of washouts that could happen on roadways that we saw like in 2015 and 2016 with Matthew and Michael. So a lot of things to be watching for us this morning, but let's find out where it's raining the worst right now.
Well, I do have a little bit of good news. I'm being optimistic on this here. One, we don't have any tornado warnings yet, which I just probably cursed us. But we're starting to see that flow, that channel was created in the atmosphere that was just pummeling us with heavy downpouring rain. It's starting to not only shift a little bit further inland to the east of Highway 70, but we're starting to see it break up a little bit here. For about the last 6 to 8 hours, we've just been seeing this constant flow of moisture in the atmosphere, almost like railroad tracks, right into us here in eastern Carolina. We still hold on to the flood watch. That goes through until tomorrow evening. That's why it is a weather alert day with, again, multiple tornado warnings having come out for us here. And if you look, there's where the low-level center of Debby still is, sitting down here, making its way inland and towards South Carolina, headed towards Charlotte. We here in eastern North Carolina have seen the worst of it. Brian North was just checking Ed Piotrowski. He used to work here at News 12 in Myrtle Beach. He says he's going home. The worst of it's over for them. But for us, not the case for us here. We're continuing to see these bands working across the area here. We do have that flash flood warning where that band had set up through western part of Carteret County, eastern Onslow, Jones County, Lenoir County, Greene County, into the western part of Pitt County. Watch out for all those farm fields trying to drain into the rivers, the creeks, the streams, the roads. That's what we're going to be seeing really starting to rise for us here. And again, as I said, we'll catch a little bit of a break late morning, early afternoon before we reset with more of those heavy downpouring rains across the inland areas for us here. Still the potential another 3 to 6 inches of rainfall working its way across the area for us here as we head on in through the afternoon hours today. There is hope, though. By later tomorrow, we finally get a front through here and get a chance to dry out for the weekend. More on that coming up.
Let's get you caught up on some of the breaking news that happened in the overnight hours. About 3 a.m., what they think was a tornado touchdown in Wilson County, New Lacoma. This is Springfield Middle School in Lacoma, maybe about 5 or 6 miles west of Wilson, right along the I-95 corridor north of Kenly. You can see the damage caused by the school. Now that the sun is up, we're getting a much better look at the damage from a distance. Andrew McClung is hanging out in Lacoma this morning, showing us what it looks like now. Andrew?
Yeah, Brian, this is as close as we can get to the school right now as we're blocked off by authorities. The road's actually closed another 1/10 of a mile actually where I'm at. The only reason I'm able to stand where I'm at is because I'm actually on a homeowner's property that allowed me to set up here. And he actually, I mean, you can see how close his home is to the school. And just to look at the damage again, I mean, this school, potential tornado potentially came through here in Wilson County. And I'm going to zoom in real quick on the schools. A little hard to talk and move the camera, but we're going to do it real quick. But here we go. I'll go and zoom in a little more. As you can see, I mean, that is the front of the Springfield Middle School here in Lacoma. I mean, the front all the way to the, you can see the roof. And then over here, I mean, it's debris scattered everywhere. Walls caved in. And then over here, you can see actually part of the roof caved in. Another wall caved in right there. And that's not the only damage we're seeing right here, too. You can actually see right here, just look at the cornfield right here that was beside the school, how the corn is, I mean, blown 2 different ways right there. And we also have a down power line. That is why crews are right there right now. We have a down power line, so power is out for most of the area right here. Again, I mean, you can see the down power line right there. I mean, power, the homeowner I spoke with too, the only damage his home received was a fallen mailbox. I mean, and he said he is thankful again for just, I mean, to have this storm that is potentially just, I mean, 500, 600 yards away from his house, and the only damage that he has is no power and a damaged mailbox. So he's running off a generator right now. Again, we're continuing to follow and see much more of this damage here at Wilson County at Springfield Middle School, and we'll continue to update you on air and online at WCTI12.com. But for now, reporting live in Wilson County, Andrew McClung, News 12.
All right, thank you so much, Andrew. And let's check out some pictures that Rebecca McGann took for us. This is on Fort Run Road in Greene County. Rebecca says that she believes this is a house that got knocked over by the wind, and you see the trees down there as well. Well, Rebecca is still out there in Greene County this morning. This is near Snow Hill with what she's seeing. We did check in with her many times throughout the morning. They were trying to get the power back on, and I do believe it has been restored right now. Rebecca, what are you seeing at this time?
Yeah, crews are still on scene here on Highway 58, and we've moved down a little bit because of the flash flooding that we've seen. But yes, I did speak to the homeowner of that structure that was destroyed by this tornado. Luckily, he was not inside at the time. No one was inside. Now, Greene County officials have confirmed that a tornado did touch down here around Highway 58 around between 2 and 3 a.m. Let me show you some of what we're seeing here. Right now, the biggest thing we're seeing is flash flooding, but I'm going to have my photographer, Amy, point up to where we see almost like a hole where the tornado looks like it passed through. You can see the trunk of a tree got absolutely ripped in half, and it just looked kind of like a hole where it passed through there and then went further on and knocked down some of these power lines. Now, I'm going to have Amy point over here. We still have crews on scene, but it looks like they've gotten all of the poles back up and the lines back up, so it's not as much of a danger as it was earlier this morning. But you can also see a lot of this flash flooding that we've gotten from torrential downpours as we've been out here. Now, this is a good time to remind people that if you see a down power line, especially if it's across the road, do not go near it. Remember, if a line is down, assume that it is live, and if it's on wet pavement like what you see behind me, it can conduct up to 30 feet away. So you definitely want to be careful, especially if you're seeing those down lines, if you see any of those. And then if you look behind me, we also have water running over the roads from this flash flooding here in Greene County on Highway 58 as well. So if you see this water on the roads, be extremely careful as you are traveling. I would say the safe to say probably stay inside for now as we keep getting these rains. And while we don't have any of those tornado warnings, we did have that one confirmed here in Greene County overnight that damaged 3 buildings seriously, as well as 2 fields. But Greene County officials have said no injuries were reported, thankfully. So we'll keep you updated as we're out here, as we're spying some of that other damage. But for now, live in Greene County, Rebecca McGann for News 12.
And you saw over Rebecca's shoulder the water trying to rush through and find a culvert or someplace to go. And those are the areas that could become road washouts. So be aware. This is the live look from Brockmill Pond in Trenton. Trenton had a lot of rain earlier this morning. They're getting a nice break right now with a rain band moving a little bit east. But Brockmill Pond is full, ready to go. We'll be keeping an eye on what's been happening there. We saw from our reporter on scene a little earlier this morning some of the flash flooding happening along the streets of Trenton. But right now, things are looking pretty good. We'll see if they get any more rain in Jones County. Again, flash flooding, culverts and ditches have been full. And so where does that water go next is going to be one of the big questions that we will be answering. Let's make sure you stay updated even when we're not air or online. You can always check out what we have, the latest, including on our YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and just type in WCTI 12, and then you can also do Tracking the Tropics, where we have a full show on how to handle situations like when hurricanes and tropical storms roll through our area, like it's doing right now. It has center of circulation is now on land in South Carolina, headed towards Charlotte. So maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll continue to track that for you. More information, including power outages, coming up in just a few minutes here on News 12 on Fox.
All right, well, I knew I jinxed it here. We do have a new tornado warning now coming out for the Pitt County area. Let me get my graphic switched over here. And again, we are continuing to see that not only that flash flooding happening for us here, but here we are yet again back in the Vanceboro area on up in towards Pitt County. We've been watching this corridor for us here along the now switching over to the Highway 17 corridor. It had been Highway 70 here over the last hour or so, but now starting to get along the Highway 17 corridor. Again, this goes until 8:15 for us here this morning as we are continuing to track these bands of heavy rainfall working its way through the area. But the problem is that we are seeing the rotation starting to develop in the atmosphere, not closer to the coast. It waits till it gets about 40 to 50 miles inland, where the low levels start to slow down enough that the upper levels winds continue, and that's where we are starting to see the tornado warnings starting to pop out for us here. So let's kind of identify where we're talking. Yep, right along that Highway 17 corridor, right around the Askins-Ernle area. Again, traveling right up Highway 17. So if you are knowing somebody traveling into New Bern or going up towards the Greenville area or Washington area as a result of that, we do have this tornado warning that is now in effect along that Highway 17 corridor for us here, again, in Craven County. This is a fairly tight circulation that we're looking at for us here. Again, coming right up Highway 17, there's a lot of trees along the roadways for us here. The railroad tracks parallel this area here. Gaskins Road up towards Aurora Road. We are also looking at this continuing to move off to the north at a fairly fast clip for us here as it's going 45 miles an hour. So that's just a little under what the speed limit is on Highway 17 as this system continues to make its way on up through Askins and Ernle. Again, kind of paralleling along that Highway 17 corridor for us here this morning. So these are the areas. Again, we got the Country Biscuits got their shop open up there in Askins. Do you know anybody that's headed there for a biscuit run? Tell them to keep an eye out for things for us here as we are going to be tracking the heavy downpouring rains as well as, again, this possible tornado making its way up along that Highway 17 corridor. And again, this looks like a fairly well-wrapped system for us here. What we're looking at is we're looking at the winds coming into and away from the radar site. When you've got one side going into the radar, one going away from the radar, that creates the Doppler effect, and that's where we're able to see the potential tornadoes for us here. When you're looking at what we call gate-to-gate shear, when you start looking at about 8, 9, 10 meters per second, when you can see the velocity, you're talking not necessarily of the tornado, but of the wind changing direction of almost 80 miles an hour. This probably is a fairly well-defined funnel cloud working its way up Highway 17. So again, if you know anybody in this area, Askins, Ernle, even further up Highway 17, this is all headed off to the northwest. So this is going to, again, kind of parallel Highway 17 corridor for us here as this makes its way northbound across our area going in through the morning hours for us here. So this is the reason why that we are on yet again. I guess we had, what, about maybe a half hour, 45 minutes without a tornado warning for us here in Eastern Carolina, and now we're back into it again. But again, it is because of this band of heavy downpouring rain. Now, this may be the last one we see for a while as we are starting to disrupt the inflow into this system. But again, you can just kind of see we were tracking this as it made its way up Highway 70. It decided to cut across the Neuse River. Now it's coming up Highway 17. So Vanceboro, get ready. This is going to be quickly approaching upon you here within the next 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, once more, it's kind of going towards that Greenville direction like we've been seeing all morning, but it's kind of going more northern than is northwestern like we've been seeing the other tornado warnings. And of course, we saw that real tight circulation, tighter than what we've been seeing. So it's something that we're really keeping an eye on. Again, it's coming pretty much parallel there to Highway 17 towards Vanceboro going north. So if you know anyone that's going to be traveling on 17 going towards Vanceboro or coming towards New Bern, make sure to give them a call. They need to find shelter as soon as possible. Again, You could stay in one of your cars, but find somewhere that has some good footing there so you can stay safe.
And again, you'll notice that under lane where the track is for the tornado, there's also that flash flood warning that is in effect for the same corridor along Highway 70 and 17 that we've been tracking this band of rain. They've been acting like railroad tracks, just funneling that moisture right up along the area here. The other thing you will notice as I pull the view out a little bit here, that thunderstorm has been stretched out. There were fairly strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere for us, but it's the lower levels that start to slow down, almost kind of like when you use like a zero-turn mower. You slow down one side, you turn that one direction. Well, that's what happens when you start to see the atmosphere slow down in the lower levels, but the upper levels, 10, 20, 30,000 feet, have got almost 100, 150 mile an hour winds whipping out of that southerly direction, and that starts to get the atmosphere spinning here. But the other thing you will also notice is how the center of the possible tornado is here, but look at all of that heavy rainfall, that rain shield being carried with those upper level winds. So that's part of the reason why this could be a rain-wrapped tornado, not completely out of the question for us here, but at least as far as the velocity is concerned, it looks pretty tight, making its way there around Askins. Again, paralleling right along Highway 17 for us here. So it's headed up towards Aurora Road. Ernle, get ready. This is going to be inbound towards you as well. You can see that now with the update. It shows you how fast this thing is moving. The radar updates about every 2 to 3 minutes, and we went from where the Highway 17 shield is now past Ernle in that 2 to 3 minute period. Again, this is moving at about 45 miles per hour. Again, paralleling the Highway 17 corridor for us here. So if we follow this on out, Vanceboro, get ready. It's going to be on your doorstep here within about 5 minutes. And this is also the area that we were watching earlier this morning. Vanceboro had started the tornado that went up Highway 43 and went in towards the Greenville area and then finished up as we went in towards Edgecombe County. So again, we are definitely looking at some pretty tight rotation with this cell here that is moving very fast along Highway 17. Old Brick Road could be on you relatively quickly here. Plantation Creek Drive. Again, we're continuing this right up that Highway 17 corridor now from Ernle into Vanceboro. Just passing White's Farm as we speak right now. That's where that split is there. And again, upstream areas, Vanceboro area, even Wilmar Road, yet again, potentially this could carry on through to your area for us here. So we do have this very dangerous cell. Again, this is look fairly tight and concentric for us here. So this is very indicative of a potential good tornado actually reaching the ground, or at least there's enough potential for it to be reaching the ground for us here along this corridor. We have this band of rainfall finally starting to shut off for us here. So we'll not only get a chance to see some of the water drain for us here, but at least for the next couple hours, this may be a break as far as the tornadic action is concerned, although you can kind of see we do have another one starting to fire up here along the I-40 corridor just to the west of that, or the east of that there in Duplin County. So we'll have to see if that one starts to take over for us here. Again, we do have that tornado watch that remains in effect for all of Eastern Carolina. That is running all the way through until 1 o'clock this afternoon, not only for inland areas, but also offshore waters, including the sounds for us here as well. We do have this tornado warning that has prompted why we are breaking in for coverage here, both on Fox Eastern Carolina and also on Good Morning America on ABC, because we do have this cell that's coming right up that Highway 17 corridor. Askins, Ernle, Vanceboro, get ready. We'll see if it wants to take the split and continue on 17 and go northbound up to Washington, or if it wants to head over 43 towards Greenville. But again, this is the area that we need to be cautious of. This is moving about 45 miles an hour, so this is going to be able to make a lot of distance up in a short amount of time for us here, as it is continuing to now past White's Farm. Probably right about there, the split in Vanceboro, and it's going to continue on that northwesterly direction. Vanceboro itself, this may come in through the downtown area or get pretty close to it here, so make sure you are in your safe place. And Lana, where is that safe place you want to be?
Yeah, so you want to be in the lowest floor of any building that you're going to be in, especially let's say you're in an apartment building, you want to go down to the lowest floor. And if you're staying we don't really have basements that much around here as we did where I lived, so maybe get into one of those lower areas, like you get into a bathroom where there's no windows or hallway stairs. You need as many walls to separate you from the outside. Do not go in the garage because, again, the garage door is very fragile. It can be moved with some wind as well as debris. So you want to make sure that you're staying safe there. A bathroom is one of the best bets you got there. Stay in the bathtub, possibly get like a mattress and cover yourself again if you are staying home. But if you are driving, going maybe towards Vanceboro with it, it's a good time to go off the road and find yourself shelter as well.
Yeah, and again, it's multiple warnings and watches we've seen here through the morning hours here, multiple threats and dangers that we need to alert you to. But right now we are tracking a tornado warning in Greene County. This is going to extend until 8:15 for us here. And it's just about 8 minutes of 8 right now. And again, a lot of a good rotation associated with this. Again, Vanceboro further upstream for us here. We'll kind of see if it splits and goes 17 or 43. But Vanceboro, you are in the sights with this potential tornado as we speak here right now. And again, a very tight rotation center here. This scan's a couple minutes old, so more than likely it's coming down on the Vanceboro area as we speak right now. But now is the time to head into the interior part of the building, away from windows. If you've got a bike helmet, a skateboard helmet, a snowboarding helmet, even a baseball hat, batting helmet, now is the time to protect yourself and get to the interior part of the building, as again, this is a potential pretty good tornado signature showing up here on the Doppler radar. Again, what we are measuring here, not the rain itself, we're measuring the winds in the atmosphere coming in towards or going away from the radar site. Even though the radar site is sitting down in Newport, right there along Highway 70, right behind the Speedway. That's where the National Weather Service office is. But it can see the winds in the atmosphere. And when you've got wind coming towards the site and going away from the site into close proximity, that's what we are tracking here. That leaves us to the potential of this is a tornado. This is the essence of Doppler radar. This is what Doppler radar is, and able to see those wind directions in the atmosphere just by looking at the raindrops with it. As a result, we do have this tornado warning that, again, is in effect for Greene County. Again, Vanceboro, this is going to move through you relatively quickly, and even areas upstream of that there as we head towards Claypool. Wilmar Road, we're going to be on the lookout for that. Wilmar itself, this may hold together and continue to track into your neighborhood there. Not only that, we're definitely seeing a lot of heavy soaking rainfall associated with this here as it is making its way on northbound across the area. It does look like maybe finally catching a bit of a break, seeing this corridor that has been set up in the atmosphere here for the last 6 to 8 hours. Maybe finally starting to get a little bit of a break of that, and a lot of that has to do with now the sun coming up. Even though we're clouded over, that starts to get the atmosphere mixed up, so we're starting to mix up this flow that had set up during the overnight hours with this nocturnal low-level jet that was just pumping this moisture right along the Highway 17 corridor for us here. But we do have to, again, be concerned in the Vanceboro area itself, where we do have this potential tornado working its way through town, and then again getting onto the north side of it. Probably more than likely going to stay on Highway 43 and then even Chicad. Keep an eye out for this. You are going to be under the gun as far as this potential tornado warning is concerned for us here. So you can see, like I said, it was going to be making its way into Vanceboro. There's the latest update. As far as the velocity associated with this circulation cell here, still fairly strong. In fact, even maybe wrapped up a little bit more. We're up to around 10 meters per second. Again, a lot of scientific jargon, but it increased from 9 to 10. That tells me that this is a wrapped up cell, potentially creating some damage on the ground for us here. So it looks like it wants to take the Highway 17 bypass northbound up towards Wilmar. So we'll continue to track this cell as it moves off to the northwest for us here. And we will continue to see heavy soaking rainfall rainfall in its path, so this potentially could be a rain-wrapped tornado for us.
Yeah, so it looks like it is going up that 17 corridor, but it could also take a little bit of a western turn and go up 43, and that's going to be we're going to see that in the next update that it has, which direction it's going in. But again, with that shear that we're having, you have those really fast winds up top and then slower winds down here because we do have, trees and houses that are kind of keeping that wind from going fast, and that's what causes this rotation that we're seeing. And also the warmth of the air. It's kind of colder up there towards the atmosphere, and now it's a little warmer here, especially because the sun's coming up, and that's also one of the biggest fuels there for that possible tornado warning there. So that's something that we are keeping a very, very close eye on because it does still look pretty tight, as we've seen earlier.
Yeah, this is going to be coming on the backside where Main Street joins back into Highway 17 for us here. But anybody traveling on 17 in and around the Vanceboro area, give them a call and let them know that it looks like a tornado possibly working its way along the bypass. And again, this is moving at about 45 miles per hour. So this is a very fast storm system for us here. And again, it can cover a lot of ground in a short duration of time. So if you know anybody in this area, along Highway 43 north of Vanceboro, along Highway 17 in the Vanceboro, Craven County area, even upstream in towards, Chicod, be on alert with this cell. While the warning may drop or may not drop at 8:15, may continue that circulation center, continuing to move up through Calico, Clay Root, as well as the Chicod for us here. But again, right now we're watching this area once again in Craven County. Started around the Ernle, Askins area, continuing to make its way up Highway 17 for us here this morning, and we will continue to see this as we go on through the morning hours for us here, located over Vanceboro or about 50 miles southwest of the River Road area. And again, it is moving very fast on the forwards area for us here. Wilmar, Calico, Shelmerdine, Blackjack, you need to be alerted at this within the next 10 to 15 minutes. This could be coming into your neighborhood for us here with this corridor of moisture. It's starting to wind down, but this may be its last hurrah with one more tornado for this area that have been seeing these warnings and watches popping all morning. I walked in here around 2 o'clock this morning. Donnie Cox and Grant Carlton were already on the air for tornado warnings, and Lana Foss and myself have been rocking and rolling ever since.
Yep, and we've been tracking so much rotation. We kind of just had a little handoff of being on air. We got a little bit of a break earlier, but it seems that we've got that rotation coming in. Now, it looks like we may have a bit of a break in the rain just for a little bit, but still we've had really tight rotation in different areas, but it looks like it's going to continue to move up that 17 corridor, and it's moving very quickly, like Les mentioned, 40 to 45 miles an hour, almost the speed limit on some roads, and it's moving fairly fast with a tight rotation, and it's warming up because the sun is out, and also that's a better way for you to be able to kind of see what kind of weather you're going into. Even with that heavy rain, you may be able to see that rotation and kind of take another way out.
Yeah, and again, it is now the second or third time we've seen a tornado in this area of Craven County. Again, pretty much coming right up Highway 17 now. Vanceboro, we're seeing some of the heavier bands of rain associated with that. So again, it could be rain wrapped, not completely out of the question for us here as we switch back to look at the velocity. Again, wind coming in towards the radar or wind going away from the radar, where you've got that difference, that shift. That's where we are seeing this potential tornado, again, working its way towards where Highway 17 and Main Street in Vanceboro join back in with each other there, going up Highway 17. Wilmar, heads up for you guys in that neighborhood there. Elmira Crossroads, 102 that cuts across there in southern part of Beaufort County. This potentially could be holding together and making it into your neighborhood there. Again, Highway 43 kind of paralleling that a little bit off towards the east here. And again, we do have this tornado warning at least in effect for the next 15 minutes. We'll see maybe a little bit of weakening with this system here as it's encountering a little bit of obstacles with some of the trees and all in the neighborhood there. This could be rain wrapped. It could be on the ground and skipping across farm fields and lifting during tree lines, or it could be just plowing along, just depending on how hooked up that rotation is from the ground all the way up into the mid levels of the atmosphere.
Yeah, so we're kind of watching that rotation. Now, we did have some damage in other locations of our viewing area, and this could be one that causes the same kind of damage. So this is not, this is not something to take lightly. You need to make sure that you're prepared, especially being if you're in a house or anything, go into one of those indoor areas right now. Because again, it is very tight compared to some of the other ones that we've been watching, and it's still going to be fueled by all that warmth and all that moisture that we've been seeing. And again, it looks like it's going up towards that 17 corridor towards Wilmar, but it could possibly take a little bit of a western turn there across 43. And that's something that we're going to watch to see if it's able to update in a couple of minutes. But it's going to be, it looks like it's kind of covered there. You can see it started to move up. So here's where the storm was. It started to move up there, up the 43 corridor. So maybe the rotation could possibly be moving up that direction as well. But you can see it's still pretty heavy there. You do have a lot of that heavy rain that we're watching right now. But in any of the cases, you should be, see there, all right, it kind of goes in between 43 and 17. It's kind of taking the split route between them. So Calico, Chicod there, up there, you could possibly be seeing this Elmira Crossroads. You might be able to see this rotation. You're going to make sure you're in those safe areas as well. We're going to take another look here at that radar for you. It looks like it's still 8:15. It could possibly continue up towards 43 and towards Greenville area in the next couple of minutes. But again, it's moving fairly fast, 40 to 45 miles an hour. So it's something that we are definitely keeping our eye on right now. It's going to possibly go in that direction towards downtown Greenville. We do have someone down there kind of keeping an eye out for them. But again, still pretty tight rotation and some heavy rains that we're seeing right now. So again, it's pretty warm out there. It could cause that rotation to maybe have something touch down, or maybe something already has. We're going to be taking a look at the damage to make sure, but we're still going to be keeping an eye on this top.
Yeah, again, we are on because of the tornado warning yet again in Craven County for us here. This is scheduled to go through at least the next 10 to 15 minutes. And again, we'll kind of see if that rotation holds together. Now on the north side of Vanceboro, basically coming up right around Wilmar area, heads up there along Highway 43 or 17. It looks like it's starting to take a little bit more of a westerly jaunt there, coming up through 43 and the Vanceboro area. But again, this is an area that, especially this time in the morning, could be a lot of people traveling between Greenville, Vanceboro, New Bern area along that section of 43, kind of again splitting the center of it right now. Looks like it's along Oak Grove Road, Wilmar Road. Get ready. This is about ready to pass over your neighborhood here, as well as Pollard Swamp Road as it continues on that northwesterly direction across the area for us here. So again, we are looking at potential, and again, this is a fairly tight rotation for us here early this morning. We've seen not quite some of the other ones, although it does look like it's weakening maybe a little bit. It was up to 10 meters per second a couple minutes ago. Now it's down to 8 meters per second, but it may be encountering a lot of friction with a lot of the farm fields, and more so importantly, all of the trees in that area there of the Craven County. Again, this is going to continue on off to the northwest, and this is going to cross probably into Pitt County. So areas upstream, be ready, be prepared, be ready to head to your safe place now. And we'll give you the all clear. We'll let you know when it passes your neighborhood there, but definitely we're continuing to track this there, especially the Wilmar Road area where the Oak Grove Road connects in that neighborhood for them. And we are going to continue to watch this relatively quickly zoom up paralleling Highway 43. So like I said, Calico area there where Highway 102 cuts across over to Elmira Crossroads. That's where you're on the lookout for. Other areas, Pollard Swamp Road. Again, now's the time to hit your safe place here as this is coming right up the Oak Grove Road region for us here. 102 back on up in towards Calico, off to the east of Calico. Gaskins Road, Shelmerdine. We've called out these same locations as we've gone through the morning hours for us here. So now's the time to be aware. Now's the time to get into your safe place here for us as we are looking at this quickly coming right across the Oak Grove Road area there in the Wilmar Road intersection for us here early this morning. That also extends over towards Pollard Swamp Road, Smithfield Road, Lancaster Court. So we've got some sparsely populated areas here, but trust me, I know there's homes there. Personally, I know that for a fact, as we are seeing this once again working its way through the Wilmar Road area in Wilmar, paralleling Highway 43. Right now, again, it's set to expire in about 10 minutes, but like I said, this is looking fairly tight for us here. And again, even upstream, you need to be cautious and use some caution here early this morning with the potential of the heavy downpouring rains that we are seeing with this cell. Again, finally, it looks like we're starting to see this channel that developed in the atmosphere slow up a little bit here. We're not quite getting it streaming in across Highway 17. It may start to shift a little bit more into Pamlico County, down East Carteret County, as well as we see this whole system lifting off to the north. Again, the center of low pressure with the with Debbie is out near Florence, South Carolina, and continuing to funnel that moisture here and along the eastern part of the Carolinas.
Yeah, we've seen some tornado warnings there near the Raleigh area, and what we've kind of noticed, if you're just joining or if you've been here for a while, I want to reiterate that all these tornado warnings seem to be going up that same pathway from New Bern to Greenville, and then Greenville into the Raleigh area. That's something that we've been kind of keeping an eye on. The one that we have right now could be going deeper into Pitt County from Craven County. With that tight rotation that we've been seeing, it could possibly be extended past 8:15. Going to take another look here at the velocity once I can get it up for you so we can see if it's moved up a little bit more there. Let's see. But we've been seeing some of that heavy rain so far. But you can see right there it is. It's still pretty tight. It's still stuck in between 17 and 43. However, it's moving very quickly, and it's something that we need to make sure we keep an eye on. It could update in a couple of minutes. We're going to take a look at where the storm is. Still moving up that 43 corridor there, coming towards Greenville, Hams Crossroad as well, Blackjack, Chicod. You could possibly see some of this rotation coming in the next couple of minutes. Elmira Crossroads, it is coming in your direction as well, but it still looks pretty tight, as well as it still looks pretty severe. It could be a rain-wrapped tornado or one that has possibly touched ground, but it still has some pretty heavy rotation there. It doesn't look like it's dispersed that much. However, over the past couple of minutes, it has gone down just a little bit, but still the rotation is pretty heavy there. But it looks like we still have those rain bands moving all the way through eastern North Carolina. But you can see right here, we get a little bit of a break near Atlantic Beach towards New Bern, but we could see some of that heavier rain that you see below Atlantic Beach coming through again, and could bring us possible more tornado warnings. But hopefully we might get a break after this one if this one does expire, but we're going to make sure we're keeping a very close eye on it. You can see right there it started. It looks like it's dispersing just a little bit, but still pretty tight there. Moving up to Chicod, it's going up the 43 corridor, looks like, kind of steering away from 17 and going straight towards Greenville.
Yeah, we got a lot of areas here. Again, kind of sparsely populated, but again, we know there are families that need to take shelter for us here right now, off to the east of Chicod, as you head in towards Gaskins Road, again, right around Elmira Crossroads, coming across 102 right now. So if you know anybody traveling along Highway 43 between Craven and Pitt County, give them a call, give them a heads up, let them know that just off to the east, there's potentially a tornado that's working its way through the area, and we are going to continue to hold this rotation together for us here. Upstream areas, this is moving quick. So Blackjack, now's the time to head to your safe area. Simpson, I would head there as well. If you live along Mauboys Bridge Road, even in towards Blackjack Simpson Road, we are going to continue to see these bands of heavy rainfall. And again, this could be a rain-wrapped tornado, not completely out of the question for us here as a result of these storms making their way towards the area early this morning. We're finally potentially seeing this flow in the atmosphere break up a little bit for us here, and this may not be the only one. Again, we've got the ingredients in the atmosphere here still for the next several hours that could create the potential of the severe storms here in eastern North Carolina. Other aspects we need to keep an eye on. heavy downpours. We've got flash flood warnings in effect along that 17 corridor, or not the 17 corridor, along that corridor from the coast all the way up to Greene County, where we saw that heavy band of rainfall for the area this morning. We're also going to continue with the winds picking up a little bit. That will start to get some of those surge of water, maybe 1 to 2, possibly 3 feet on the western side of the sound, as well as along the coastal areas for us here at the beaches. Again, this system is making its way inland, so hopefully we won't get too much battering as far as the renourished sand is concerned there along the Crystal Coast. But we are on because of a tornado warning set to expire here in about 5 minutes. I've got a feeling they may state this here for the southern part of Pitt County and the central part of Pitt County as well. So we'll see what the Weather Service wants to do as far as this is concerned. But definitely, we are advising you, Blackjack, Simpson, get ready, get prepared. We are watching this system making its way now just to the east of Chicago. And we've seen multiple tornado warnings across Pitt, Craven, Greene County, especially as we're going through the overnight hours into the early morning for us here. And again, we are watching the rotation here. Well, may start to wrap up a little bit here. This is the highest I've seen so far, 17 meters per second for us here. So again, I got a feeling they may extend this into the central part of Pitt County, but we'll let the Weather Service, they're the only one allowed to issue warnings and watches for the Weather Service that is. So as we go on through the morning hours here, this is what, warning number 7 or 8 that we've had this morning so far?
I lost count.
Yeah, definitely a lot for us here in Eastern Carolina. Again, but that's why we are on alerting you to these severe weather dangers for us here as, again, paralleling Highway 43, coming up through a Blackjack Simpson Road. We're seeing a good rotation signature for us here in the southern Pitt County. So Calico, this is on your doorstep as we speak right now. Again, further upstream, Blackjack, Simpson. This is the time to start preparing. Even New Belden. I don't think it'll hold together Pactolus, but if you know anybody that's going to be traveling on 264 from Greenville over towards Pactolus, give them a heads up that, again, they may be seeing a possible tornado coming their way within the next 15 to 20 minutes. Again, 45 miles an hour is what this cell is moving at for us here. And again, we are looking at some of that strong couplet across the areas here right around Highway 102. But again, this scan is a couple minutes old, so more than likely this is ahead of that up around Gaskins Road there. Also looking at the potential coming in from Chicago of St. John's Road, as well as looking at cutting across Gaskins Road there, and Shelmerdine as well, Blackjack Simpson Road. So this is the area now is the time to start preparing as this cell is quickly making its way northward.
And we've seen this warning for about almost 30 minutes now, and you can see that it has not lost its rotation over that period of time, but it is moving fairly quickly. So it's moved up from New Bern towards Vanceboro, and now it's going towards Greenville. So again, moving pretty quickly. Doesn't look like it's losing much of its rotation at the moment. When we had that velocity up earlier, you could see it stayed around the same range each time we looked at it. It should update in just a little bit, but that gate shear pretty high up there still could mean that this could possibly touch down. But again, we wait until the National Weather Service tells us whether or not something has touched down. There are train spotters that are out and about right now. They were doing some flash flood warnings there. So it's something that all of us are kind of keeping an eye on, especially with us being around, 8:30 when all the people are starting to go to work or leaving. It's a pretty busy time for us. And of course, this looks like it's going to be impeding on some people's plans.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just kind of run through what we've got as far as warnings and watches are concerned for us here. We do have the potential of maybe some minor coastal flooding issues for us here as we go on through the day today along the coastal areas here. Still have that tornado watch that remains in effect for us here. And again, we've had several tornado warnings that have taken place for us here this morning as well. Also, the coastal areas, that's where we are under that tropical storm warning. Again, just the coastal areas for us here, but we are continuing to watch the progress of this storm system as it's making its way along that Highway 1743 corridor in Craven County, now crossing over into the Chicago area of Pitt County. And again, this looks like it's paralleling right up Highway 43 coming our way for us here as we continue to watch this system. Again, this is not going to be the last of these potential tornadoes as we go on through the daytime hours today. There's a lot of energy energy in the atmosphere. We've got what was the low-level center around the storm itself, Tropical Storm Debby, still a tropical storm headed out towards Florence, South Carolina as we speak right now, but it is starting to unwind, and as a result, we're starting to get these quick spin-up tornadoes. And I talked about it the last couple of days. This was one of the things that I was most concerned about the potential of having some tornadoes quickly spinning up for us here as we've gone through the morning hours. We've had quite a few warnings that have popped out. Again, the Weather Service is still holding on to this tornado warning, I believe. I haven't seen that they have allowed it to drop. Passing the Chicad area, Blackjack, Simpson, just to the east of Highway 43, working its way northbound across this section of Pitt County for us here. We continue to see that heavy band of rainfall, but it's now starting to shift just ever so slightly. Started off this morning, it was along the Highway 258 corridor. Now it's along the Highway 70 and 17 corridor. It will start to shift a little bit further off towards the east. So down East Carteret County, Pamlico County, Lowland, Hoboken, really haven't seen a whole lot of action in our neighborhood here just yet, but the potential is still there, and it does look like they are going to extend it into Pitt County, which is what I thought. So now this puts Greenville back underneath that tornado warning for us here. Again, anybody along Highway 43, 264, 13. We are under this tornado warning now. This is running for at least the next half hour for us here as we continue to watch the heavy downpouring rains, the damaging wind gusts associated with this. Again, this is a fairly legitimate signature on radar, and that's how we've indicated this. This is Doppler indicated tornado for us here in Eastern Carolina. This is the area that we are looking at that potential there till 8:45, Chicad, Greenville, all surrounding areas. Again, I know we've got a lot of people in town visiting for the Softball Little League World Series. If you're in a hotel room in the Greenville area, now is the time to head to the interior hallway, as yet again, we've got another storm system coming up from the south. Again, you can see what the radar looks like this here. The fairly good tornado vortex signature associated with this cell. That's coming up Highway 43 from the southeast. So again, within the next 10 to 20 minutes tops, this could be making its way in towards the Greenville area. The safest place to be is in the interior part of a structure. Get as many walls between you and that outside tornado as possible. Interior hallway is great. Stairways are great. Inside of a closed closet is a good place to be. Bathroom, good. Just make sure it doesn't have a window in it there that could potentially shatter you. And what you can do is you can actually grab the mattress off of your bed or a blanket, put that over your head and dive into the bathtub. It will protect you, especially if you've got like an old cast iron bathtub. Those were fantastic back in the day as far as protection. But even the vinyl ones and the plastic ones we have nowadays can help with you there. Again, the center part of the house is where you want to be, away from windows. Cover your heads with a blanket, with pillows, with a helmet. It could be a baseball helmet, softball helmet, bike helmet, ski helmet, anything that'll add a little extra protection for you there. Basement is the best place to go, although unfortunately here in Eastern Carolina, we don't have a whole lot of places that have basements in them. So again, the lowest floor possible, stay away from the windows, gather those blankets and pillows, and make sure that you are protecting yourself here. Try to head to a sturdy structure. If you are in a mobile home, it's not the place to be. We have a lot of deaths from mobile homes with the debris flying. You want to try to get into a low-lying ditch. I know it may be wet with all the rainfall we've had here, but try to find that lower center of area and bail out of your mobile home here as we go on through. If you're outside, try to stay away from large objects, large trees, and make sure you cover your head with your arms if you do have to dive off into a ditch. Again, sturdy interior building is the place that you want to be. We cannot stress it enough that we are continuing to see the safest place to be across the interior part of your steady built structure. Again, Greenville, get ready. This is the second tornado warning we've had for the day today, and it is inbound in towards your area. It's coming up pretty much right up Highway 43, continuing to see that make its way northbound. And again, the tornado signature with this is fairly strong, as we are seeing maybe a little fractionization of it here, but especially right around Chicago. Shikad. We have been watching this cell have a fairly strong rotation associated with it here. Again, still fairly tight. We had it up to 17 meters per second at one point, started around 7 or 8. So there's a lot of rotation in this area here along Highway 43. I know the numbers don't necessarily mean a whole lot to you. The higher they are, the stronger that rotation and that wrapping up in the atmosphere is with this coming through Shikad, right up Highway 43 for us here this morning.
Yeah, so especially with these rural areas that may have a couple of houses and locations, but mainly those flatlands is one of the easiest places for a tornado to touch down because it doesn't have any obstacles like houses or tall buildings, trees. But again, it's still very strong at the moment. You saw those numbers in the double digits, kind of sticking between that 60 to 80 range for that velocity, but it's still pretty heavy. Rain as well. It could obscure the way you could see what kind of conditions you're under at the moment. It has gone down in speed just a little bit from 45 to 35 miles an hour, but seeing that it is still fairly tight rotation wise and it's going just a little bit slower, it could possibly cause more damage.
Yeah, and again, along Highway 43, as we go a little bit further up, we're going to start to get in a lot of developments here. Worthington Road, heads up on that. It is in your area as we speak right now, and you can see how the population, once you get north of Worthington Road, really starts to become more dense there. Fire Tower Road, Winterville Road, that's where we're going to be keeping an eye out for this here. Again, I think it's pretty much paralleling Highway 43, or at least that's the way it wants to run through Haddock's Crossroads. You're under the gun as we speak right now. Has slowed down slightly, as Lana said, but still fairly fast moving. Look how far that moved from about a 2 to 3 minute scan to the other. So again, right on Fire Tower Road as we speak right now, getting into some of those heavier developed areas on the south side of Greenville for us here this morning. This is now the second one we've seen in this area. And again, fairly tight rotation associated with this system here coming up Highway 43, Holly Branch Road. That's an area we're starting to get into right on Worthington Road as we speak right now, with that fairly tight rotation continuing to be with us here as we are watching that rotation. Again, still fairly tight, holding in the double digits for us here. I know the science of this, you don't necessarily understand what this means, but to me, diagnosing this shows that we've got more than likely a fairly strong tornado signature showing up for us here, and more than likely has connected to the ground. So again, now's the time for you to head to your safe place as we continue to track these storms rotating up that Highway 17 corridor, now along Highway 43. This again is the second tornado warning that we have had for downtown Greenville as we speak, with inbounds yet again on that southern side of the city. Heavy soaking rainfall, so this is probably more than likely a rain-wrapped tornado for us here. I want to show you what we're kind of looking at here in the Greenville area. Now this is on the area over towards the Convention Center there at the Hilton, but you can see the heavy soaking downpouring rain associated with this here, and this is why you're not going to be able to look out across the field and easily potentially see this tornado coming up Highway 43 right now, getting in and around the Fire Tower Road area. Again, this is a very highly populated area, 43 and the Fire Tower Road, that you need to start taking your shelter right now, as you're not going to be able to look out and see this tornado easily with all of the heavy precipitable water that we've got associated with this here. Again, this tornado warning goes until 8:45 for us here, and we are coming into a fairly populated area on this south side of Greenville. Worthington Road making its way on up towards Highway 11. Winterville Road cuts across there, back again on inbound in towards the Fire Tower Road area, the Greenville Mall, and headed possibly again in towards the downtown area, as we've got yet another tornado warning in effect for us here in eastern North Carolina yet again for us this morning.
Yeah, and I was kind of looking at the gate-to-gate shear again as it moved, and it's still staying around 10, 11 meters per second there. So it's still staying pretty high, which does mean that that rotation sticking with it a little bit. Some places we're seeing a little bit lower, but it still was moving pretty quickly there, and it's kind of staying around until about 20 minutes from now. So we're going to keep a very, very close eye on it as it is heading towards Greenville. Again, you won't really be able to see it. We're watching a camera right now for Greenville. You can barely see past some of the houses on the camera.
Yeah, and it's again starting to get in some of those populated areas on the southeast side of the city for us here. You'll notice Red Banks Road, get ready. This is on your doorstep again, downtown Greenville. I know we got a lot of people in town visiting with the college or the Little League Softball World Series here. But if you're in a hotel room, stay away from the windows, go into the bathroom, get into the interior hallway of the hotel. As again, we are under a tornado warning right now with this cell moving relatively quickly through the southeast side of town, coming up Highway 43, looking like it's going to be taking its way across Greenville Boulevard here any minute on that southeast side over towards where the college is located.
And once again, it is kind of moving in that same direction as all the other tornado warnings that we've seen, but it has taken a little bit of an eastern turn there as those rain bands start moving more towards the east, but still kind of moving in that same direction. We had one tornado warning that could bring up some damage. We saw earlier, if you were tuned in, some damage to a school down there. This could probably cause the same amount of damage to some other buildings. Again, we want to make sure you keep yourself safe as well. Don't be driving out in this kind of weather. Being in a car is not good. If there is a tornado touchdown, you want to find a sturdy shelter there as well, but we're keeping a real close eye on it.
Yeah, we are continuing to watch the gate-to-gate shear here for us here. What you're looking at is a diagnostic tool that we have that has wind coming in towards the radar, wind going out from the radar, and it's when you start to see that rotation there that we start talking about that potential for a tornado. Again, this is still fairly strong for us here as it's coming in on the southeast side of the city, so now is the time, again, to start to take precaution measures and head into the interior part of the building for us here. Downtown Greenville, stay away from any of the high-rise buildings, especially the windows around them. I know we've got, again, a lot of people in town visiting. ECU itself is starting to get ready, ramped up. We've got football players back in town for us here, and a second possible tornado coming into the downtown of Greenville right now. Probably going to follow the similar path that the other one did, cutting through the city and then possibly headed up along the Pamlico River for us here early the morning hours here, where we did have in the pre-dawn hours a cell that kind of followed along there. Again, we are on for a tornado warning for Pitt County right now. This is coming in through the Greenville area as we speak. I just want to go back to our camera here. You can kind of see that wall cloud making its way across Greenville Boulevard here this morning, seeing how the low clouds are hanging down for us here. This again is coming in on the southeast side of the city as we start to watch this potential of a tornado inbound in towards the Greenville area as we speak right now. Again, the most action is going to be working its way on the southeast side of the city, continuing to work its way eastbound across the area. You see that a lot of the low-hanging wall clouds showing up there, the fall streaks coming out of it with the heavy downpouring rain that we are tracking across the area. But we will continue to watch this potential tornado. Notice that the cloud continues to get lower to the ground. Look on the far right side of your screen here, how that cloud base gets lower and lower and lower to the ground. We may actually see this tornado possibly on the camera, not completely out of the question for us here, as again, there is plenty of rotation associated with this cell that is working its way on up through the area here early this morning. Again, downtown Greenville, we do have this tornado warning in effect. That low-lying wall cloud is what we are watching for here right now, seeing if we're seeing that funnel cloud on the backside and the underside of this system for us here. Actually, far side, my director, I'd like to keep it full screen on this here. I want to be able to see if we can see that wall cloud and the funnel cloud working its way across the area here, as again, it's kind of tracking in on that southeast side of the city for us here early this morning. Downtown Greenville, Red Banks Road, Highway 264, around the college. This is what we are alerting you to, this potential of a tornado coming in on the southeast side of the city or working its way through the city area. Like we saw earlier this morning, we did have a tornado warning that was in effect for us here. Again, kind of hard to see because of the heavy rainfall that we are tracking with this system, but you can clearly see that there is a lot of low cloudiness associated with this here. That funnel cloud, again, could be rain wrapped with the heavy downpouring rain that we are tracking across the area for us here. But this is the reason why that we are on Greenville. You are under a tornado warning. And again, we are going to continue to monitor this here as we go on through the next 15 to 20 minutes. We continue with that tornado warning for Pitt County, for the Greenville area. This goes until 8:45 this morning. Again, you can see how just fast those clouds are working their way across the area for us this morning. And we are continuing to watch this rotation fairly strong in the atmosphere work its way in across the area for us here with that low level cloudiness. That's showing you just how fast the storm system is moving for us here. Usually you will see that if any potential tornado would be around, it would be at the far back end of that wall cloud. And again, this is having that potential for us here in downtown Greenville. Let me switch and see the radar here real briefly, real quick, and see exactly where we are seeing some of that rotation right now for us here. Yeah, it looks like it is pretty much right directly over the downtown area right now as we speak for us here in Eastern Carolina. The fourth or fifth tornado warning that we've had come out. And again, you can kind of see right there where we were looking, that low hanging wall cloud. That's potentially where that tornado was situated as it made its way through the Greenville Boulevard area there. That low wall cloud is again kind of lifted a little bit for us here. We're kind of on the backside of that potential tornado as it continues to make its way back up towards the airport. The potential is still there for this to be on the ground, rain wrapped, with a lot of potential of downpour and heavy rainfall causing flash flooding for that there, but also again the potential of some damage as we look with a fairly tight rotation associated with this cell now making its way through downtown Greenville, continuing to lift off to the northwest across the area for us here. It looks like maybe it dissipated a little bit for us here. Not seeing so much of a strong tornado signature there in the Greenville area. Well, no, there it is. had to kind of look at and find out where it was from between one radar to the next radar. And again, you can kind of see that gate-to-gate shear now getting onto the west side of the city, potentially over towards the hospital district. That's kind of what we are looking at here. Still holding on to a fairly tight shear signature here. When you look at the gate-to-gate shears, we call this is inbound winds towards the radar site, outbound from the radar site. It's that spinning in the atmosphere that we can measure. That's what makes Doppler radar. And again, that potential is there that we may actually have caught a possible rain-wrapped tornado working its way through downtown Greenville here a couple minutes ago. Now is the time in the Greenville area, West Greenville, over towards the Frog Level area, west side of the city, especially around the hospital district. Now is the time for you to take shelter immediately as this system is headed towards you.
Yes, and like you said, taking shelter, even if you're not in that area right now, it is starting to continue to move in that west-northwestern direction. So places like Rock Spring, you could possibly see it starting to move your direction, going towards Rocky Mount there. It looks like it's kind of still going up that 1764 corridor as we're watching it. But again, the gate-to-gate shear still sticking around 10 to 11 meters per second. It's been staying this way for the past couple of minutes. However, the velocity has gone up about 10 miles per hour so far. So it does look like it's still pretty tight rotation there, and it is still above that Greenville area. And we are keeping a very close eye on the webcam that we have down there to maybe see if we can possibly see a tornado touchdown.
Yeah, again, it's kind of working its way through the city right now. This is now the second tornado warning that we've had for the Greenville metro area as we've gone through the morning hours here. The tornado warnings supposed to last at least for another 10 minutes. But again, it looks like a fairly good signature associated with this here. There's a lot of strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere that this system is able to tap into. And now you can be looking at the potential of this making its way across the city for us here early this morning. We had one kind of come along almost the same path. This is going to continue to make its way up towards the Rock Springs area. Again, west side of the city, the hospital district. Now is the time for you to make sure you are in your safe place here as we continue to track this cell. Again, fairly tight rotation showing up for us here across the Greenville area. Again, a lot of populated areas, or a lot. Storms, for the most part this morning, have not been in the populated areas. This is now the second one in the one of the bigger populated areas in our area. Again, we got a lot of people in town for the Softball Little League World Series. Stay safe. Stay in your safe place here. It's not time to get out of that just yet, as we've got this potential tornado making its way through downtown Greenville for us here early this morning, and we will continue to track this tornado as we go on through the morning hours. Now, looking back where we've seen this feed of moisture so far, we continue to see this starting to dissipate for us here a little bit. And as a result, it's shifting that heavier band that has been set up offshore, now going to shift north of New Bern over towards Pamlico County, over towards down East Carteret County. But this may be the last throes of another cell that's working its way through the Greenville area for us here this morning. Again, it potentially could be a rain-wrapped tornado, not completely out of the question with that here. Could be a little bit of hail, although again, not really seeing a whole lot of that. This is a warm air mass that is in place. It came out of the tropics, so you've got to have fairly tall storms to be able to really get the potential of these the hail cores across the area for us here. In fact, there's one diagnostic tool that we can actually use to actually kind of take a look at this here and potentially see just how much of a possibility as far as hail is concerned across the area is concerned. So let me zoom in here, go back to a static image here real quick, and zoom into this cell again as we continue to track it, working its way through the Greenville area. And just to kind of give you an idea just how high up into the atmosphere these storms can potentially be. We're going to kind of go into a 3D mode here. And again, you can see a fairly tall cell associated with this here as we are tracking this back and forth. Some of the height contours associated with this over 18,000 feet. You can see where some of those heavier hail cores potentially could be across this cross section for us here. Again, not in the tropics, but of tropical origin. You can potentially see underneath here that, again, maybe a possibility of some of the small hail making its way down towards the surface. If nothing else, intense, heavy, soaking rainfall. This could also be in the same area where you may be seeing that connection with the upper level winds. Notice how you've got this area up here up to about 15 to 18,000 feet. That potentially could be exactly where that tornado is working its way through the area here early this morning, yet again in the Greenville area. So we'll continue to track this for us here as we are watching this making its way off to the northwest. Second storm that we've seen in the Greenville area for us here this morning as we continue to track where some of that gate-to-gate shear is, as we like to call it, the technical term for it. More importantly, it's just where you are seeing the potential of that tornado working its way through the area here early this morning. You can kind of see it continuing up there. We talked about Rock Spring. It looks like it is paralleling 43 now up the Rock Spring. So Belvoir, get ready. This potentially could be in your neighborhood here within the next 5 minutes. So now is the time to head to that safe place area. And Lana, where is that?
That's going to be, if you have it in a basement, but most of us here probably don't have one, it's going to be in those indoor areas. You want to put as many walls in between you and the outside doors there. You want to make sure not being in a garage either. Those who have garages tend to see the most damage there. We're going to take a visual here to kind of see where you want to stay there. It's going to be lit up in green. There may be a bathroom. Make sure it has no windows, a hall, a closet, and maybe even the stairs if that has more walls in between you and the outside. If you have any pets that are outside in these areas, that maybe you should probably also bring them inside as an extra precaution. But again, the best place to be would be the center part of your house and away from those windows. And you want to make sure you cover your head with a helmet, blankets, or pillows, or maybe if you're able to, grab a mattress and cover your head, get into like the bathtub. But again, best place to be would be the basement if you have one, and if you are maybe driving around in this area. You're going to want to make sure you maybe stop your car for a little bit, maybe go into a bigger structure that could keep your safety there, as it is moving towards that past the Greenville area, moving northwest there. We're going to take another look at it to see where it's gone so far, if the radar has updated it, but still lots of heavy rain that we've been seeing. The Greenville camera right now is kind of covered in raindrops from that heavy rain that they're seeing. There's that cell right there. You can see moving towards Belvoir, moving up 43 there. You could maybe see Pine Tops moving up there, maybe going towards Tarboro. Gonna take another look here at the velocity that we had there. There it is, another cell that we were watching there right above Greenville, going up 43. It's moving pretty fast now. It has gone up around 5 miles per hour, sitting around, moving northwest around 40 miles per hour there. But again, around 840, so about right now, you know, the Greenville area as well as Bruce around 840 could be seeing stuff like this, but also Gardnersville, Grimsland, and Simpson. You could also be impacted by this thunderstorm that could possibly produce a tornado.
Yeah, and again, it is our second tornado warning of the day for us here in the Greenville area itself. If you are in a safe location, you feel like you can get out and get some pictures of any damage or any video, we would love to see what you're seeing in the neighborhood. We have a thing set up on our website, WCTI12.com, or on our mobile app, the Chime In section. You can upload your video and pictures there. Again, we want to see what you're seeing in your neighborhood. We're kind of hunkered down. We don't have a whole lot of field crews out here early this morning in the Greenville area. We've got them dispersed in other locations. So as a result, we want to see if you did see any damage in the Greenville area from this possible tornado. Again, fairly tight signature associated with this here, making its way up through Rock Springs, pretty much, again, paralleling Highway 43 for us here this morning, making its way on up in towards the upland areas here of Falkland. Now is the time for you to head to your safe place there. Belvoir looking like it's going to kind of maybe just shift a little bit off towards your east. So again, upstream areas here of Johnson Road, Cottondale Road. This is where we need to start to take precautions. Stokes Road, not out of the question. Old River Road, could be enough circulation around there for that. But again, it kind of looks like it's going to come right through the area there with the Rock Springs, the center, and parallel along Highway 43, moving off to the northeast. Kings Cross Road, that's where you want to get ready there and around Falkland. Now is the time for you to head into your safe place. This is the same area that we saw another couple tornado warning cells here in the early morning hours. So again, if you know anybody that's traveling along Highway 43, give them a call. Let them know that potentially there could be a tornado coming right up Highway 43. Again, this started in Craven County about an hour or so ago, right around the Askins area on Highway 17. It took 43 through Vanceboro, and now it's continuing off to the northwest as it makes its way up towards Dupree Crossroads.
Yeah, we've seen it covered in very, very heavy rain, so you don't want to wait until you see it or you hear it, because if you are in this area for that tornado warning, it means it could be anywhere, especially because it's rain wrapped. You probably cannot see it through that rain there, but it's still moving that north-northwest direction. So if you are anywhere up Highway 43, you may want to go ahead, take cover now, take shelter, stay in a safer place, bring those pets inside as well, because it does still show that we do have some pretty tight rotation still moving up there towards Belvoir. Looks like it's kind of right over it right now, maybe dissipating just a little bit, but it's kind of moving towards that Raleigh area again, so it may be crossing over that area as well.
Yeah, again, we do not only see just the potential of the heavy downpouring rains with this here, we continue with the flash flood warning for most of the area in this same region, as again, we've been watching these heavy downpouring rains working their way through the area. In fact, you can see here as I kind of show you all the warnings that we do have in place for us here. Obviously, again, we've got that tornado warning there for Pitt County, but just off to the east of it here, you can see that corridor from Cedar Point on up through through Kinston and headed up towards Stantonsburg. This is where we saw the bands of heavy rainfall and several of the tornado warnings already this morning. So now here we are early to mid-morning. It's starting to shift a little bit further inland. This will probably be the last time we see something of this nature on this corridor, but now it's going to start to shift into Pamlico County, Beaufort County. Boco really haven't seen a whole lot of severe weather for us here so far this morning, and that will open up maybe Martin and Bertie County as well, just depending on where these heavy bands want to start to set up for us here in eastern North Carolina. We also continue with the tornado watch. That goes through until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Flood watch through 8 o'clock tomorrow. Also have tropical storm warnings for coastal Carteret and coastal Onslow for us here. And we are going to continue to see these bands of heavy rainfall continuing to pump in across the area. We are getting it worst from Debby now that it has made its way inland towards Florence, South Carolina, than anybody else is seeing for us here. Now, again, we know that they did have troubles down in Myrtle Beach and areas there, but again, you can see we are under the gun right now for this here. There's where the low-level center is situated, well back inland and near Columbia and Florence, South Carolina, but this feed of moisture yet again is continuing to come in from the ocean right into us here in eastern North Carolina, and the potential is still there for these heavy banded rainfall to continue as we do head on in through the daytime hours today and even overnight tonight and in through the first part of tomorrow. So now's the time to start to prepare. Again, if you live along a low-lying area, northeast Cape Fear River in Duplin County, we know that's going to have flooding for us here. We're going to be watching flood warning now just issued for the Trent River in the Jones County area. So that is going to start to come up because of this heavy rainfall that we've been tracking here. But at least as of right now, the National Weather Service has dropped this tornado warning for us here in Pitt County. So we are going to stand by and see what we've got coming our way for us here. So, Brian?
All right, thank you, Les. Great job tracking those storms as always. Let's get you caught up on what's been happening throughout the morning while we've been tracking these tornado warnings. Mariah Davis along with me. We'll catch you up on some of the damage that we've seen throughout the area this morning. Let's check in on our first piece of video. We are going to the Greene County area, just west of Snow Hill. This is a pic of Fort Run Road, where Rebecca McGann was out this morning. You can see the tree to the right of your screen that was about 45-degree angle. It ended up all the way down later, but in the middle, you see a building that the homeowner told Rebecca was some sort of home. Power lines were down. We saw power crews out there. We've also seen flooding in that part of Greene County. Let's check in with Rebecca McGann, who's standing by near Snow Hill to get us the ground truth report of what's happening right now. Rebecca?
Yeah, I did speak to the homeowner of that building that was demolished by that tornado. It was confirmed by Greene County officials there was a touchdown tornado here on Highway 58 near Snow Hill. That homeowner luckily was not inside at the time the tornado touched down. No one was there. There were no injuries reported. There were 3 different buildings that were severely damaged from this tornado that hit between 2 and 3 in the morning is what Greene County officials are telling me, as well as 2 agricultural fields. Now, if you look behind me, the biggest concern that we have right now is flash flooding. So if you look behind me and you see this ditch, I'm going to step into it real quick. It gets really deep really fast, and we're still seeing a lot of rain coming through here. We had a couple of small spots right now, but I'm not even all the way into it yet, and my feet are totally covered by this water that we have right now. And if you look towards the road as people are crossing through it, it's starting to get a little bit better on the road itself, but we still have this major ditch flooding that's going on in the area. So again, if you're traveling this morning, make sure you're paying attention to where you're going. Amy is pointing to some of the flooding that we're seeing on the other side of the road. We also have some of that storm damage over there as well from that tornado. Again, if you're traveling this morning, make sure you are being hyper aware of what is on the road in front of you. If you see water, be very careful as you're driving through it. Go very slow. And we also had a down power line earlier this morning. And just a reminder, if you see a power line down on the road, assume that it is live. And if it's down on wet pavement like what you see behind me, you will not be able to see it. So for now, in Greene County, Rebecca McGann for News 12.
All right, thank you so much, Rebecca. And let's check out this school. This is in Wilson County, where they had severe damage. During the break, when we looked at all the pictures, you can kind of see that tornado kind of went right through the middle. So much debris on the ground here, and this is about west of Snow Hill there in Lacama. This is Springfield Middle School in Lacama. Of course, again, that is in Wilson County. And Andrew McClung, he's been out there all morning checking in on the damage. Andrew, what can you see right now?
Yeah, Mariah, we have confirmed. Wilson County government put on their Facebook page that an active tornado did touch down this morning in we're in the Lacama area here of Wilson County. Again, this is a report. I'm just reading it off Facebook right now. This is just some of the stuff they're seeing right now. Due to the continuous rain, many flooded streets and roadways, damage in various areas of the county, and out of abundance of caution for staff and safety, all offices in Wilson County are going to be closed today. Also, as well, we have the again, sustained rain. They've said they have downed trees. They also have homes that have been damaged, and this is what they know. Since about 2:30 this morning, Wilson County started getting tornado warnings. They said an active tornado touched down just prior to 3 a.m. Springfield Middle School, which is right behind me here in Lacama, you can see damaged by what they're calling a tornado here. They also said that 4 houses have been confirmed with structural damage, as well as a church here in Lacama as well. As you can see, a very active scene too. We have a Wilson Energy here on scene. Multiple crews have been coming here to assess the damage at the schools. We have collapsed roofs. We have walls that have fallen in the school, seen so much damage. But then other homes nearby, I mean, just right down the road, I talked to one homeowner who said he walked outside to see it all, and he was just 150 yards away from the storm. Again, this is still a very active situation here in Wilson County, North Carolina, where Wilson County government officials say an active tornado touched down here in Lacama. Reporting live here in Wilson County, Andrew McClung, News 12.
Tornado. All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Here again is the video that our affiliate in Raleigh was able to get right after that apparent tornado hit Springfield Middle School in Lacama, which is west of Wilson, north of Kenly, right along the I-95 corridor. They're supposed to be having an open house there August 20th. Now it's going to be a lot of damage they need to repair. We'll have to see what happens when the kids who are supposed to be headed back to school in a couple of weeks, what they will do. Some time to figure that out once the storm is through, but we're still dealing with a lot of the effects of the storm, including power outages. Let's give you a look at what's been happening with the latest numbers on the power outages, including Onslow County. We saw a huge number earlier this morning. They've cut that in half. A little more than 1,000 customers now without power. We saw it in the 2,000 customer range earlier this morning, so crews are working hard to make sure people get back the current. Carteret County right next door, where we saw that trough going through. Carteret County right next door. Right next door, there you go, move it right there. 106 now. Again, that number has gone down quite a bit here, and that trough has moved a lot further west, going up through the down east area now and over through the Hook. So we've seeing some of that shift. Let's check in on Craven County, which has had a lot of problems recently. That number going up. 212 customers are without power. We don't think there's been that many problems. Jones County has not been reporting, but we do think there are people without power there. You go to Lenoir County, now 20. They've done a good job lowering that number. Let's check Pitt County, and Greene County, where Pitt only has one customer out, which is pretty interesting since that system just went through right there. So you see the counties in yellow. Those are the ones that really have a lot of issues right now. In Wilson County, where we saw the apparent tornado go through, 2,000 customers without power right now. You get down there into Columbus County along the South Carolina border, 2,600 customers without. Bladen County, we know there's some flooding there. There was a possible tornado in Harrells and Duplin County yesterday. So we're starting to get an assessment of a lot of the damage that's been happening around eastern North Carolina, again, while this is still active. All right, let's check in. We want to hit some of the webcams and see what things are looking like outside right now. Here is the Emerald Isle Bogue Inlet Pier camera, where again, it's still pretty good wind action that is happening. And you can see right under the pier, see how far the ocean water is coming up. It usually doesn't come up quite that far. And of course, the camera is taking a beating this morning. You can see the wind blowing the red flag as well from that southerly direction. We'll see that wind change as the circulation moves up through our state. Any others we want to check in on this morning? We will check in. Let's go to Beaufort real quick, since that system is moving more towards the east. Darker clouds east of Beaufort now, again, where we're seeing the storms going up more towards down east Carteret County. Harker's Island looks like it's getting pretty good storms right now. The Point is seeing the storms go up through there, and the Whitecaps, really on Taylor's Creek, you rarely see that unless you get good winds along there, and it is blowing pretty good. Yeah, and Les let's open his mic here. Les is saying that the water levels are starting to go up, and we can see them creeping up the docks and up on the shore of Beaufort.
Yeah, this is what we're going to be watching. It's that east-southeasterly wind helping to pile that water up for us here. And this is what we're going to continue to watch for. We still do hold on to potential of 1 to maybe 3 feet water level rise there along the Crystal Coast. So we do have the coastal flood advisory in effect. Not going to be anything near like what we saw with Florence as far as that storm surge is concerned. The storm is well inland, but that southeasterly wind is going to pile that water up. Multiple threats and dangers that you need to be alerted to with this system. Again, we are tracking the heavy downpouring rains. We've seen the flash flooding across the area for us here. We've seen the tornado warnings. Next thing, though, is going to be that river flooding as we dry out going into the weekend and into the early part of next week. We are going to be seeing those water level rises on the local rivers for us here. In fact, the Northeast Cape Fear River in Chinkopin, Duplin County, that's supposed to be looking at major flooding concerns for us here. But we're not done with this just yet. We're kind of shifting the bands of the heavier rainfall now. Down East Carteret County, Pamlico County, Beaufort County. We still have the potential of the localized flooding issues, depending on the roadways, water spouts or tornadoes, not out of the question. We've had several of them so far for us this morning. We continue with that tornado watch. That goes through until 1 o'clock this afternoon. All of the inland areas and the coastal areas for us here, and that does include Ocracoke as well. Again, that coastal flood advisory, that's through 11 a.m. on Friday. Because of the Inner Bank seeing those stronger winds that we're going to be dealing with here coming across the sounds, kind of, again, pushing a little bit of that water back up the Tar-Pamlico River while the heavy rainfall from the day is trying to flow down it. So Bath, Montego, Bellhaven area are going to see some water level rises there as well. Tropical storm warnings remain in effect through tonight into tomorrow along the coastal Onslow and coastal Carteret areas for us here. And again, you can see that heavier band started down near Jacksonville this morning, has been working its way slowly northeastward here. So again, get ready. Pamlico County, we're going to continue to see these heavy bands move in. Down East Carteret County, Beaufort, Stacey, Betty, Davis, Sea Level, Otway. Get ready. We're seeing those heavier bands move in, and that also then will shift that potential of that severe weather. Normally, we've been seeing the pattern this morning. These cells get about 30 to 50 miles inland, and that's when they start popping tornadoes. So that opens up Washington, Beaufort County for us here, Martin County. As we go on through the day today, these are going to be the areas we're going to need to be keeping an eye on for us here across eastern Carolina. And again, we are going to be here in the Storm Track 12 Weather Center online, on social, keeping you alerted to all of these severe weather dangers. Brian?
All right, also keep an eye on the roadways. A lot of rushing water. We saw this during the storms of 2015 and 16 with Matthew and Michael. We saw a lot of roadways washed out, culverts that can't handle the water. So just be aware of roadways as well as you're driving around. With all the rain that's been falling, keep an eye on possible washouts, especially in areas that have creeks and things where it's had more water than it's used to. And that rushing water, trying to find the lowest spot, will take out some roadways. All right, as we leave you here this morning until the next alarm goes off or until our next newscast, depending on what happens first, we are taking a look from the Duke Marine Lab camera in Beaufort. Again, the whitecaps along Taylor's Creek, rare to see those. There's the bridge over Gallant's Channel, but those clouds looking to the east, we're keeping an eye on those, and we will be also updating you online as well, WCTI12.com, as well as our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. So stay tuned for that, for all the updates that we will provide with you when it comes to storm damage. Let's still, last word.
Prepare. Prepares for the word for us here. Get prepared for more tornado warnings popping out this afternoon, and make sure you stay connected.